MMA Roadshow, episode number 143, brought to you by Freshly.
143.
143. My name is
Crazy.
John Morgan. Cold Coffee is with me. It is a rare off week in the world of mixed martial arts, and that means we're chilling at home in Las Vegas, my friend. It's good to see you again.
It
I
is
feel like
good.
it's been a while, right?
It does feel weird, right? I feel like I still hear your voice even when I don't see you. But, yeah, to have you actually across the table, you know, it is good. It is good. It's good to be here in Vegas. You know, it's much warmer even though it is.
Finally thawing out a little bit from
I
Winnipeg.
have. It is, you know, granted, it's been a little chillier today. Like, you know, with that wind going, we've had crazy wind here in Vegas, and it's getting a little bit cooler as well. So it definitely has been a bit cooler, but nothing like Winnipeg, man. That was some craziness. Right now, I think in Winnipeg it got even colder since when I was up there, and it's crazy. You know, you try to do the Celsius to Fahrenheit because everything. My phone will tell me what the degrees were in Fahrenheit. You know, but I know it sounded a lot colder up there when I looked in the actual Celsius and stuff. Like right now in Winnipeg, it is 1 degrees Fahrenheit. Minus 17 Celsius. But I knew this week it was going to get colder. So as much as I was up there like saying, oh, this is kind of cold, I knew it was going to get worse. So I didn't try to complain up there and tried to act like I still had some of that Ohio weather skin in me. You know, that only goes so far. Then you go outside. The worst part was carrying gear down the street because all the sidewalks were just covered, and there was like snow and then the like salt and the sleet, and I wanted to drag my bag. You know, my camera, the case is probably, I don't know, 40-ish. It feels like 40-ish or so pounds, you know, and not being the strongest person. And even then, you pick it up. It's one thing when you can just do it, but when you're carrying it, you know, like half a mile down the street, you're just like, oh, this sucks, you know. And so I wanted to put on the sidewalk, but there was just like all that salt and stuff. And then you're like, oh, I don't want to drag my case through that. So then it was like, all right, switch arm, walk, walk, walk. Okay, switch arm, walk, walk, walk. And that's while still having like the 50-pound rucksack of the other gear and then having the tripod. It sucked. But it was still, it was
and
only.
on top of that, you're miserably cold.
And it was cold, you know, but it was like, it was so close that, you know, I couldn't do like a cab or whatever and be like, hey, can you take me like a mile down the street?
Just right there. See
Right
that
down there.
building on the right down there? Just that one.
So, but it was fun. It's cold, but you know, I definitely have thawed, and it does feel good to be back here in Vegas.
Well, you didn't get to join in the and a half festivities, of course, because you were working into the wee hours of the night. But I did want to ask you, I mean, other than the cold weather, which I think was definitely the theme of the week, I mean, was there anything else that stood out to you in Winnipeg, you know, from behind the scenes, just, you know, interaction with a fighter or just anything that you left with, you're like, man, that's going to stand out to me?
You know, that's a good question. Thinking back on it, you know, even like Glover, I had a good feeling. You know, like Glover's always been one that's always been really, really good to us. He's always personal. Even when I worked with the UFC, he was always great at, you know, I'd say, hey, you know, Glover, can you, you know, shadow box for me? Can I do an interview here? And he's always been so gracious. And, you know, and it was good to see him with a really, really good performance because, you know, ultimately I feel like you see a guy that you know is not going to be there forever. He's not going to be there for
just getting up there
for that long, but he's also a guy that's fighting at such a high level. And to hear this guy, you know, sort of talk about, not that he's tired of getting the questions about when he's going to stop. When he, you know, I mean, it's understandable, and he understands that as well. But he's also was like, you know, hey guys, but look what I'm doing. It'd be one thing if I was just going out there and just sort of grinding through fights and not really putting on good performances. But he's going out there still looking really good and dangerous. You know, I know he wants to make that run for the top. I don't know. I just don't know if he has it anymore still to take the belt. But in terms of just really liking a guy, I absolutely I adore Glover. I think he's just I think it's just for the fact of he's so good to work with. So seeing him backstage was fun because I know he's always a guy that's willing to do whatever. And you know, as unbiased as we should be, it's hard to not have, you know, feelings when, you know, you like a person, you know, so you feel good for somebody. And I don't want his days of fighting to end, you know, anytime soon. So it was good for me. I was glad to see him. You know, it was like seeing an old friend. Not that I would say that we're actually friends or anything, but we're certainly friendly, But it was always good to see him. So it was good to see him.
It's funny as you talk about that, and I'm Googling real quick to see if I can find it. And I don't know if I can find it, but you talk about the kind of guy that Glover Teixeira is. I remember the story that stands out to me. Of all the interviews and all the fights and everything like that, we were doing a community project in Brazil, and I was trying to remember what the event was, what the city was.
Yeah.
But the community project was the UFC was going to this park, and they were helping plant trees. This was like a community awareness type thing. I can't remember.
I feel like I was there. I remember doing a tree planting somewhere.
It definitely would have been before you were working with us.
Yeah, I was going to say I would have been with the UFC at that time.
We might have both been there, but I remember – I just remember how cool it was because, it's just this community project, and sometimes those things are hit or miss. I mean, sometimes they're really fun. Sometimes they're not that well organized. But this was a really good one, and I'll tell you what made it really good. First of all, it was cool because, they're literally doing something. It's cool when you go teach a lesson or something like that, but when you're doing something that you can see, that you can feel, you know what I mean? They're giving back to the community by planting these trees and helping, reclaim this, forest area or whatever. Anyway, but it was so cool because – Glover Teixeira used to support himself by doing like landscaping, and so he knew. It's not like some person going out there. Like if you took me to go plant some trees in a community project, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to look like an idiot. But he was down there like showing the kids like this is how you plant the soil, and this is how you pack it, and this is how you unwrap the tree, and this is how. And it was so cool to see because not only is he such a kind guy and such a nice guy, but to see him like really.
Coco Park
there
in
you go.
Fortaleza, Brazil.
Fortaleza, Brazil.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
I had to look it up because that was Damian Maia. I was there at that one. Damian Maia, Glover Teixeira, and Camilo. They did it twice that year.
That's awesome. So yeah, cool. Anyway, it's funny that story. It's weird how random stories come out to you, but that just shows the kind of guy. I thought that stuck out to me as what a cool guy to not only just be a part of this community, but And I will say this. I don't normally see UFC fighters like checked out. Like normally when they go to those things, they're pretty engaged. They're trying to give back to the community or whatever. It's not like they're like, oh God, I have to be here.
Right.
There are usually, but he was like that next level, man. Down there on the ground, unwrapping the trees, packing the dirt.
You knew what you needed to do.
Oh man, it was awesome. And I remember talking to him. I was like, dude, that's so cool. And he was like, bro, I used to do that. He was like, that's how I supported myself. I was like, well, it showed, man.
And you're right. It's interesting that I think the UFC guy. Granted, this is the closest I've worked with professional sport. I've done stuff with like college teams. But, so I guess the UFC is really my only frame of reference. You see NBA guys go out there and do stuff, NFL guys, all the big major sports organizations usually do some sort of, philanthropy out there, doing something, giving back to the community, to make themselves feel better for making so much more money than everybody else. But the UFC fighters that I was able to see while I worked for the UFC, even after it, always have embraced it so well, and just take it in stride and just kind of and I think that's also it's a sign that what I think all of us like MMA and the people that practice it is the fact that they've always been kind of these everyday people, the you and me's, the the blue collar guys that used to getting their hands dirty and going in there. So when they're asked to do these sort of things, they take one for the team and they put on a good face for it. And you're right, some people could probably go out there and just go through the motions, say, sorry, this is just an obligation to do it. But most of the times I've covered one of these, or even when I was with the UFC before, seen them do it, like they really embrace that stuff. They like giving back because I think they give. It feels good. Who doesn't like to feel good about actually going out and doing something? I know sometimes, we all don't get enough time to maybe give back to the community, but when you find that time that you can do it, if you can find that moment in there to just be happy to give of yourself,
pretty cool.
That's when it feels really good, So that's why I think it's neat seeing these fighters, kind of become, that everyday person giving back,
Normally, like we're documenting those things, but like the one that stands out to me was in Seoul, South Korea, where you were documenting it, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
But so I was just kind of there, but being able to feed the troops, you know what I mean, on Thanksgiving, that was cool to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like normally I'm trying to film the stuff, whatever. There, I was just kind of there and kind of helping out and talking to people and stuff like that. So I was just it was cool.
It's neat, man. The UFC. I'll give them credit on that. They do try to reach out, and especially I'm always happy when they reach out to military organizations, but they do try to give back. So as much as they catch a lot of flack. they're not perfect by any means, but I do appreciate that they actually do attempt to try to reach out to organizations and give back. So
I want to see Glover and Jimmy Manuwa. I do. I want to see that fight.
He doesn't want to see that fight.
It sounds like he was definitely saying, number one, not in London, right? Like, that's too fast.
Well, yeah.
Or is he saying, I don't want it, period? Like, he thinks he thinks he deserves a title shot next.
He thinks it's a step back. It doesn't do any good for him.
I disagree. He just lost.
I mean, it's true, but I mean, I guess in his mind, Jimmy wasn't as close maybe to the top that he feels
just lost
like
too,
taking. Yeah, they both both had it wasn't like they were on a streak, but I think he felt like he was closer up towards the top, and that fighting the guy that just lost isn't going to do him anything. But if he does, or whatever, he's like, stop calling for that shit over there. Why don't you come to my neighborhood? Come to Connecticut, come to wherever. I know.
That would be cool.
I was like, why Connecticut? I'm like, am I missing something? I was like, I don't know, but yeah, I mean. But he was very animated. I was surprised how sort of worked up he seemed to get, because you don't see him like that.
I think it would be a good match. I mean, Jimmy's a younger guy, probably a little bit faster. I do get what he's saying. I mean, trust me, I do get it. Like, Jimmy is just coming off that loss to Volkan Ozdemir, and that was a quick loss. You lose inside of a minute, you lose a lot of momentum. But stylistically, for the fans, I mean, that's two fighters that are right there in the mix, and the title fight's already set for February. I don't think, to me, like, if you did Glover versus the winner of DC Ozdemir, I'm not saying it wouldn't sell. I'm not saying it would be okay. But it's not like, oh, hell yeah, that's the number one contender. You know what I mean? Where I feel like if Glover went in there and beat Jimmy Manuwa, at least that's more of like, because right now, that's why Volkan's where he is, because everybody else is kind of a step behind, and there's nobody clearly at the top of that second level. I feel like that would be a good fight. I mean, if he doesn't want to go to London and do it in March, especially because I think that's a Fight Pass card, if he doesn't want to do that, I can understand. But that doesn't mean you couldn't do it. So I do feel like that's a good fight. I think
it is.
It's not a bad fight for Glover, because Jimmy's going to be faster. He's younger. He's a little bit quicker. But just like against Serkinov here, Glover showed that, look, I'm not only a striker. Yeah, I'll stand and bang, but if I get you on the ground, you are in trouble.
Dude, he was slick, man. I was so impressed at how quickly he transitioned to the back. I mean, he did not look – I forget how old is he, 38, 30?
38.
He did not move on the ground like a 38-year-old dude. He was so slick and so smooth. So, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, it posed a lot of dangers for Jimmy. And, it does help the fact that he did just recently lose to the guy that's now fighting for the belt, But I don't know. Maybe Glover changed his mind. I mean, I think some of those big international cards, I mean, he knows that he'd be coming in and probably be the bad guy, which nobody wants to be the bad guy.
Glover can't be the bad guy.
I know he can't be, right? But still, he's coming in, he's fighting a hometown dude or, or local guy of the country or whatever.
Yeah.
So
we're like, we don't hate the guy. We just don't like him because he's not from here. But he's really nice.
But he's really, really nice. I'm just going to boo him softly. Boo, Glover, boo.
That's funny.
But you're right, that would be a good one. But so Glover, to go back to your question, which is really, really long, but Glover was definitely one of the ones that in the back. It was small coverage. You saw the picture when I responded to the guy that was kind of playfully talking about not having anything behind the scenes.
Saying that the MMA Roadshow is like being behind the scenes, except for the
last of it.
Because I was like, well, I'm just sitting at home. That's all I got.
Nobody was back there. I could have put another picture out that actually had like the three of us that were sitting at the table side. It was myself, Sandu, and Casey from MMA Fighting. That was it in the back. So the only other time there was anybody there.
There's no local media at all, just traveling media.
There was like somebody came back once for one of the Canadians or somebody at the beginning. The guy came back for a minute and left. But no, there was like pretty much for the most part there wasn't any local. During the week there was a couple local crews that came to like the media day. But, I mean, they were just mainly just doing their regular just sort of glossing over the whole thing. We were going to, I joked about how, or maybe I didn't joke on the show, but whatever, but about nobody wanted to initially start with, like, Lawler because you never know what you're going to get at first. Everybody's like, all right, somebody warm him up first. Because at first, we had set our sticks up right in front. We're like, all right, we're going to do Lawler, then we'll just go down the line. And glad that I end up moving because if it was like me and you, we would have been waiting because everybody else came. So I was like, the more I thought about it, I was like, fuck it, maybe we'll go over here just in case. We'll grab this person. We'll let somebody else,
warm them up a little bit.
And where we were set up. There was also like a local camera guy that was right there, and I could tell he was just going to try to shoot over the shoulder, get some sound bites, but not actually interact. And so when I moved, I just kind of calmly was like, "Hey, bro, you can kind of warm him up. We're going to grab this guy first." He's like, "Oh, well, I don't really need to interview per se. I'm just getting like some sound." So he took his sticks and he moved over to the next guy. So he wasn't even going to do. He's just following whoever,
That's
so.
Great.
It was kind of funny, but the coverage was it was not big.
Attendance wasn't great, coverage wasn't great, and it was a good card.
I thought it was a good card.
I don't know if it's just because it was so damn cold, or just not a good time in the city, or what the hell it was.
It could have been. It could have been. I thought more Canadians would have made the venture. With it being sort of in the middle of the country. It's not far from the east side. It's not far from the west side for people to come in there. But for some reason, I think a lot of them too, even Canadians, which gets typically a lot colder weather than we get here.
Mm-hmm.
The butt of the joke, like Winterpeg or whatever, like they realize it's cold too. So I think even they were just like, "Bro, it's really cold this time of year. Do I want to go over there right now?" So maybe if the event or the card was somewhere maybe more in a bigger city, maybe it would have been better. I understand they want to spread it out and go to other little areas or whatever, but I don't know. Maybe weather was a factor because geographically it's not hard to get there.
No.
There's a small couple flight hops for us to get there. There's a little bit of a trouble on the coming home part, but that wasn't their fault. Getting delayed and I got delayed leaving Winnipeg and then getting delayed in Minneapolis. But that was fun. But
good times coming home.
Yeah, good
Thought
times.
you were getting stuck.
Dude.
Well, you're back. That's what matters.
Back.
That's what's up. All right, listen, should say, got to throw a little quick mention out to our fine sponsors at Freshly, who, by the way, are ending their special at the end of this month. So if you've been putting it off, you've been saying, I don't know if I'm going to jump on this Freshly thing. By now, you know what they are. They've been sponsoring us for a while. It's ready-made meals sent right to you, chef-prepared, awesome food. I actually had meatloaf today with cauliflower and mashed potatoes.
I could use some of that right
now. I never
now.
do
I'm
meatloaf
hungry.
because I don't want to cook a whole meatloaf. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
one order of meatloaf, it was awesome. But always fresh, never frozen, fully cooked, prepared meals that are ready to eat in 3 minutes. Literally just do it in the microwave for 3 minutes. Let it sit for 2 minutes. I'm done. It was awesome. 100% all natural, no artificial flavors or preservatives, no refined sugars, no gluten. It's the real deal. I'm telling you, all I did was throw it away after I was done eating.
Yeah, that's the best part. Eat your good food and then throw that shit away.
Kept on with the workday. So listen, we've been told, we don't know. They might re-up in 2018. We're not sure. But the special is going to end at the 2017 at the end. So if you've been sitting on the fence thinking about it, log on to Freshly.com. Use the promo code ROADSHOW. It's all one word. You'll get $40 off. That's $20 off your first week, $20 off your second week. That's going to knock it down to $39 a week for your first 2 weeks to check it out. I'm telling you, check it out. Try it for the first 2 weeks of January, right? That's when all your New Year's resolutions are happening. See if it makes your life easier, because I'm telling you, it makes your life easier. A work day, man, I hated not having anything great. Now I just done right in the middle of it. I take a break like 20 minutes for lunch. It's awesome.
That's what's up.
So anyway, Freshly.com. Hey, listen, this was not the easiest week. Obviously, you mentioned difficulty coming home, and it kind of all folded out on that same day that you were getting stuck. But we lost Robert Follis this week, and it was a tough one, man. This was, Robert Follis, that question, one of the most underrated coaches in the game. A guy that has been around, seen everything, done everything. We'd had him on the show, and we had wanted to have him on the show more, man. We had really been in talks about doing some technique videos and doing some more in-depth stuff, not only audio-wise here on the podcast, but as we got into next year, doing some more just again technique. We had done some stuff in the past, and we wanted kind of venture out and do some more of it. And we thought, what better way? Who better to do it? Because the guy is so knowledgeable, and just the way he presents stuff and the way he does stuff. It's so clear. It's so concise. It's so smart. It was funny, man. Just as I was kind of struggling to deal with everything, I kind of went back as a means of reminiscing. And if you have Fight Pass, go back and do this. The Kevin Lee versus Tony Ferguson fight. I went back and watched that fight, which obviously wasn't the greatest night for Follis and the team. with Kevin Lee losing, but just to hear his coaching, he was wearing the microphone pack that
Oh,
night.
nice.
So I isolated it out to just his corner audio. So I was watching the fight with just his corner audio, and the instructions that he gives. Kevin Lee gets into some trouble early, gets stuck in like a triangle choke armbar combination from Tony Ferguson, and the way that Robert Follis walks him through every single move, it's clear, it's concise. He's got that deep, direct voice, that you certainly hear. And again, the instructions are they're on point. And you hear I'm a big fan of John Crouch in the corner. Of course, everybody loves Greg Jackson in the corner, but those people that can give you that type of insightful advice on the fly, but let it be clear and concise versus get up.
Yeah, you got to get up.
Shit.
How?
I'm kind of aware of how the sport works. You know what I mean? And Follis was so good at this. So I think he was one of the most underrated coaches in the game. Just what he had seen. Starting out as a training partner for Randy Couture and making his way all the way through to where he was. A real wise person in the sport. But then the other thing that I loved Robert Follis was his sense of humor, man. The guy was such a fun guy to be around, too. I was going back through again, just kind of reminiscing of his Instagram feed. If you were following him before, a lot of MMA in there. But he was just full of dad jokes as well, which was just his sense of humor, and I loved it. Two of my favorite recent Instagram posts. One of them, warning, there's an email going around offering processed pork gelatin and salt in a can. If you get this email, do not open it. It's spam. Amazing. And this one, you might find some joy in this one. What did the musician name his 3 daughters? Anna 1, Anna 2, Anna 3. Dad jokes, man. But it was, I don't know, man. It was painful. And of course, with my kid training at Extreme Couture, I would be there for practice, and he would kind of walk over and bust my balls and tell me that I need to get a gi, because while my kid was taking class, he was teaching the gi jiu-jitsu class, and he would come over there.
No gi one as well, but he was pushing you towards the gi?
Well, it was just because that's the time that I'd be sitting there while he was teaching, because that was where my kid's class overlapped him. And he'd be like, bro, you get yourself a gi and come on in and jump in with us. While your kid's over here, you can be over here rolling. And I was like, I don't know about that. But, just a good dude, man. And there's been a lot of fighters that have taken to social media and have said, eloquated things far better than me and had greater insight than me. But just from my personal dealings with him, man, this was a great human being, and it was tough to lose him.
Yeah, I agree. It was weird to deal with it, and I almost felt bad because there was a part of me that was like, oh man, I immediately thought of like all the short-term plans and goals we had talked about. Oh. He's like, oh, I really want to do those videos you guys talked about, and my head was like, oh yeah, we're going to do all these great videos. We're going to, and I told him, when he had left Extreme Couture, I was like, dude, I know we still want to do these videos. I was like, but if there's anything I can do to help you like build up whatever new location you're going to be, I even tried to tell him, get him over, because at that point Lindell had that gym over across the way. I was like, dude, bro, maybe reach out to him. Nobody's using the thing. I was trying to do whatever I could to kind of, help him and show that, dude, I'm willing to do whatever to kind of help you, because he would always just be willing. He's like, oh, if you need something, you need a video on this, you need feedback on this. He's like, dude, bro, reach out. I got your back, And he was the dude that made me want to start taking jiu-jitsu at Extreme, because I had talked with him, and I was like, I want to do some jiu-jitsu. All I talk about, because I told him I want to become more educated.
Right.
I was like, when I watch it now and I talk about it, I was like, oh, the dude grabbed his arm and then he threw his leg over, not knowing the setup. I was like, I want to learn. And I was like, can you teach me that? And he's like, of course. He's like, you start coming, we'll work the breakdowns, we could do whatever, And so I started thinking all these things. I was so looking forward to all these things I wanted to do with him, because he's the kind of guy that just made you want to do things with him. He's giving of himself, and you just wanted to work with him. And it sucked. It sucked. I definitely got a little teary and it felt weird because this wasn't a guy that I had like a deep relationship, but even in the short time of really knowing him and working with him, he makes an impact
That was
on
his
you.
strength, man. You didn't
Yeah.
have to have like a huge, deep
Yeah.
relationship with him. He made an impact. It was
Yeah.
just like, this is a guy right here,
Yeah.
you know?
So I immediately wanted to look at some of the fighters that I knew had to be really hurting. The Mishas, the Kevin Lees, cats that had blood, sweat, and tears with this dude, that I'm sure they were really, really hurting, and, for the guy to make an impact on some lugs of dudes like us, I knew that, there were some people out there that were really, really hurting. It just sucked because, suicide and those sort of things you never see, you think everything's good and you just never see the secret signs of how deep depression or whatever is going on. And you always question, well, could I have did something more? Could I have reached out more, and made things better? I immediately was like, well, fuck. Maybe if we were doing these videos already, maybe if we were already starting to do things, that we could have pushed maybe a gym for, we could have pushed whatever. And I felt really shitty for a moment because I just felt like I had no idea that he was in such a dark place at that time because he didn't wear it on his sleeve like you would think, And I know people a lot closer, way closer than I ever was that didn't see the signs, So I didn't feel as bad about that, but I still question the fact that I could have did more in the meantime because it would have been beneficial for us because he was such a kick-ass coach.
Would have been great to have that all
It would
documented.
have been great
to have his legacy documented.
Yes,
so that it lives
just
on.
to do things. And it sucks, and that just, if anything, if there's a lesson out of it, when you make plans to like do shit with people and you talk about these great ideas and ideas and they're going to be good, just fucking do them. Find the time to make it sooner rather than later because you never know if it's going to be there, and it sucks. And I feel like a schmuck because I'm like, oh, I'm never going to get to do these things that would be great for all of us because there's people that are really hurting and a gentleman is no longer with us and stuff. But
well, no, it's the night of UFC 218 in Detroit. I was at home because you and I had covered the Ultimate Fighter finale the night before, and he started texting me during the card. Like we just started talking about some fights or whatever. So this was just a couple of weeks ago, and at the end, he was like, "We need to get together soon and catch up." And I'm like, "You're damn right we do." And then you don't follow up on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's just such a lesson that like, dude, don't. And it sounds cheesy and cliched or whatever, but it's really honestly to God true. Like, don't not follow up on those things, man. You know what I mean? Because it seems like we're all in this little world and we're all in this. We see each other every week, and you know what I mean. And
right.
before you know it, time's flown by and things have changed, and again, kind of like you, it's like you don't want to be like such an asshole to be like, well, if I had just talked to him, maybe I could have.
Right.
But one little thing here, it's why I tweeted on Sunday, and I hope it wasn't in poor taste. It was one of the hardest days of my life professionally that I ever had reporting because the news started coming out on Sunday of what had happened.
Yeah.
And we were able to basically we knew the cause of death at the time, but
right.
we couldn't report it because USA Today policy and just professional journalism, something like that, you need to verify it with authorities. And we weren't able to get a hold of his direct family, and we weren't able to get a hold of, because it was Sunday, anybody, any police officers, the coroner's office, that sort of thing. But we had talked to enough people close to him that we knew what had happened, and we knew how unfortunate it was. And that's why I tweeted out, it was just like, I can't help but wonder if he knew how loved and respected he was, you know what I mean? Because, like, the outpouring of support and the outpouring of respect was so overwhelming, you know what I mean? Like, everybody, like, so many walks of life inside this bubble were just like, this guy was amazing. And knowing at that time, even before we were able to report it, that the cause of death was suicide, it was like, man, and I know it's dealing with depression and things like that aren't just so much about having friends and feeling good. I mean, there's deep-seated stuff. Obviously his brother took his own life, and that had affected him deeply. So there's so much more to it than that. But, man, you see somebody make that decision who was so loved and respected, but you wonder, like, I don't know if Robert knew how much I admired him. You know what I mean? Like
That's
you
true.
said, you guys weren't like super tight, but he made an impact on you. But did he really know how much? Because I don't think, we would always have great conversations. We had a fun conversation on the way to New Zealand, I think it was, for Tim Elliott's fight.
That was awesome.
You know what I mean? We got to have a lot of talks with him there. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a fun week. You know, getting to really spend time with him there. And you know, but did I show and let him know enough, like how much of an impact or how much I respected him or how much, you know, I don't know. And you know, it's just another valuable lesson. Like, man, like don't let people in your life not know where you stand or not know how much you appreciate them or not know how special they are because, you know, as you said, you know, you just wonder. I mean, maybe any combination of one of these things. It's tough, man. It's tough. It was Sunday was hard though, man. Like I will say, I mean, we're super lucky. Like at the end of the day, I mean, we're journalists and reporters, but I mean, we cover cage fights. It's you know, we're very very fortunate to do what we do for a living. But that day was hard. Like basically calling friends, you know, that you know in the community to try to get information about a friend who we believe to have passed. By the end of the day, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah,
man.
I was
like, I don't
spent.
want to do this anymore.
You know, like there was the curiosity that you want to know more because you're like, you hate feeling out of the know because you're like, I want to know. You know, I want. Does it sound morbid to want to know like what? I just wanted to know what his last moments were, like where he was, what was going on. You know, not that it does to help anything, but just more like I couldn't get my brain to wrap around what had happened.
Right.
And I don't know. It sucked. I wanted to like tweet something. I wanted to say something. I just couldn't find the words, so I pouted for a while. You know, so I read it. I read people's other stuff, people that were close and stuff, and just tried not to think about it because you think about all the things and you just question. And then I started thinking about friends that had chosen the same route, you know, and I wanted to talk about it, you know, and Heather's brother had committed suicide, so when I brought up, you know, I talked about, I was like, yeah, one of the guys that we were trying to work with, you know, and I was talking with her, and then it brought up emotions in her, and then it was just like, then the whole house just felt like a piece of shit, you know, and then I felt like bad bringing it up. Then I was like, now I really feel bad, and it was a rough day.
I hope people that maybe didn't know him will realize how important he was to the sport and how important he was to a lot of people. And maybe, you know, we all failed to not do a good enough job of telling his story while he was here. But, you know, I hope that anybody listening to this will understand what a special human being this was, both inside the MMA community and just as a human being, man. You know what I mean? Like, he was a good dude.
He was. I mean, he was not flawless. We're all flawed.
No.
I mean, I know there are people out there, you know, they might think that we're all blowing hot air up, you know, and idolizing a guy that maybe whatever. But he was always good to us. Yeah. Nobody's perfect. And I'm sure he did things that maybe some people weren't happy with at times. But I know I've done things that people weren't always happy about. You know, we're not trying to just blow hot air or whatever. But from my interactions with him, and I know with your interactions, dude was super solid. I couldn't ask more. And in a friend, and I just you feel bad that you didn't do enough because, you know, you never know. But if anything, I feel better at least put it out in the universe now, you know, what we thought of him and felt of him, you know. And
absolutely. And take the lessons, man. Don't let a day go by. Like if there's a feeling you have that you want to communicate to somebody, man, make sure you do it. And you know, don't put off things assuming that you'll have time to do it because you just never know. So tough, man. It was a weird vibe at Extreme Couture this week because even though he wasn't there, you know, even though he left, I mean, you're talking about leaving just a couple of weeks ago, you know, and
super fresh,
you know, so all those people there still mean a lot. You know, I saw a lot of guys that were like, you know, he gave me this belt, you know, he gave me this lesson, or I remember that conversation. So very very tough, and I will say I appreciate anybody and everybody that talked to me either via text or on the phone on that Sunday because I'm not gonna lie, it sucked like calling as a reporter. Again, you know, I always tell you, and hopefully people understand this. Like when I say somebody's a friend, like I try to keep the lines drawn. You know what I mean? I don't have social outings with fighters and with managers. Like to me, that's inappropriate for the people we cover. But when we're in these close contact, you know, the traveling road show, you know, from town to town to town, you can't help but run into people in airports, run into people in gyms, run into people, and you have
just
conversations.
Running into them on fight week.
Yeah.
You know, you see somebody. I mean, like it's not uncommon, especially when you travel, especially somebody as much as you, and you're in another country. A lot of times, people just they see a face that they remember or that they're familiar with, they brighten up, and they
That's
in
true.
turn brighten you up. You know,
Sure,
like
you're in a foreign
I
place where you don't
how
know
many,
anybody.
Yeah, how many countries where you're like, fuck, I haven't spoken English in like hours, and then you see another English speaker, and you're like, whoa. So, like, even if you try to be the most stone cold journalist, separate from everything, there's going to be those moments where humanity will creep in, whether you want it or not.
You're
you
just
know,
two dudes, you know what I mean?
just
that are
two
talking.
dudes, and you just fucking start talking MMA, and you start talking life. And he was one of those cats that was always fun to talk life with.
He was,
For
man.
sure. So, hats off, rest in peace, Robert. I hope you are happy, and my condolences to friends and family. I know there were those that were a lot closer than we were, but so my thoughts and heart. I only have one heart, but
All of them.
is all of them are with y'all. That was
I will
some
miss
sad
Robert.
shit.
I will definitely miss Robert. Shit, man. No easy way to transition.
I
to
know.
that,
I'm like,
guess,
fuck,
but-
and I want to go to the bathroom now or something. Like go curl up in the corner.
Well, yeah, maybe we should just break there and
Let's do it, cause yeah, I'm
can't go
like,
from there.
ugh.
I can't go from there. Let's just take a break. Welcome back to the MMA Roadshow. I'm glad we took that little break. I needed that. So,
Yeah, for sure.
all right, let's keep the pace high. Let's keep the energy high. Stop by the performances too this week. With the holiday week, not a lot of MMA going. I think we all kind of unplugged a little bit, right? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't schedule a bunch of interviews or anything like that. I kind of want to spend a little time with the family, but I did stop by the Performance Institute, working on some things behind the scenes. We'll keep that under wraps for now, but working on some things behind the scenes. But did see, shocker here, Francis Ngannou working out while I was at the Performance Institute.
No.
Dude literally lives at the Performance Institute. Everybody jokes about it, but it is the honest to God truth. He is there all day, every day. It is the running joke among the staff that, like, he is literally there all day, every day. But, it's funny. I did walk up to him, said hello. He was doing some strength and conditioning, but he was like, "Hey, John, how you doing?" So, but I did want to ask you because I haven't had a chance to really talk to you about it. You'll be going out to Boston. I'm not doing that one for Stipe Miocic put his belt on the line against Francis Ngannou, but I did want to get your take, man, because I tell you what, as every day passes, I think I get more and more excited for this. Are you?
Yeah.
I mean, are you pumped for this fight? Because I honestly feel, and let me know if I'm crazy right now. I honestly believe this is the biggest MMA fight right now. I'm not saying ever. I'm not saying history, but as far as
that's on the books.
that's right. That's on the books,
yeah,
or
yeah,
even I might even say. I mean, are there any fights they haven't booked yet that you'd be like, well, if they booked that, I'd be looking more forward to that. I mean, maybe Conor Ferguson if they booked that, maybe
That would be a good one.
that'd be a good one.
That would be a good one. I mean, this is definitely up there. I mean, I love Stipe. I mean, I love the fact that he's a Cleveland boy, firefighter, all that other shit.
Oh, I did forget that Buckeye connection.
But man, I feel bad for Stipe because Francis is on a whole nother level from when we first saw him to now, and I think that's what's exciting about this fight is because Stipe, even when he came in, everybody thought Verdun was probably going to tax him in Brazil, and he pulled it out, and then you were like, whoa, he made magic happen. He's going to need that again because right now with Francis coming in, holy shit, I wouldn't want anybody to be on the opposite end of him right now because I would think that anybody going into that fight right now with the hype and with what he's bringing and literally
the confidence
working,
that he's walking with.
I mean, the dude it's not like this is the Ivan Drago of MMA right now. You go back to watch that Rocky. What is it? Rocky 5, Rocky 4.
I think 5.
He had all that technology and all the doctors and all the everything. Granted, he was juicing like a motherfucker in that as well. They even showed the needles in the movie.
Yeah.
But he is living at the Performance Institute, which he could bring his own coaches. So it's not like he's just like, oh, the PI has the best staff right here, or the best coaches. No, they have the best recovery and all these other performance stuff people there. So he has an augmented team behind him right now, and he's not doing anything else but MMA. Stipe's out there saving lives and fighting fire and doing all-American shit. Like, he took over the All-American after our boy Brian Stan stepped away. Like, Stipe is fulfilling that role right now. Francis is living in a gym.
And you just push Chris Weidman off to the side.
Well, Weidman, is he even fighting anymore?
Terrible.
I like Weidman too, but no, I mean, like.
No, I know what you're saying,
Stipe,
man.
I mean, like, he's doing all
when
these
a guy
things.
is the heavyweight champ of the world and a firefighter.
And a firefighter, like, bro, you got major bonus points above everybody else. And Stipe, he's fun, and he's from Cleveland, so, I mean, he's living in Ohio. Like, I mean, like, he's the shit. But besides that, back to the Ivan Drago of MMA right now. I'm not talking about Little Sage Northcutt. Is he actually the?
He's got to be Ivan Drago.
He's got
Jr.
to be.
They have to do that.
He has to be.
They have to cast that. I mean, seriously,
It's
like,
so ridiculous
again,
if
the
they
problem
don't.
will be like, how do you? I mean, you can't teach him to like sound Russian. Like, you can't. Like, they're gonna have to keep speaking lines at a minimum.
Well, they're just like, we stole him, we kidnapped him. That's the thing. They're gonna kidnap him, a baby, and they would
hey,
still
Mr.
raise
Balboa.
him. I must break you, sir. Thank you.
If he dies, he dies,
dies.
sir. I don't know why his voice got so high.
I know,
Like,
like,
that's so
like-
weird.
Mickey Sage.
It did sound like Mickey Mouse.
Sage. But no, it's the Francis right now, and what he's literally. I don't see anybody, and it's not just this is not Stipe, it's not whatever. I think any fighter, if they immerse themselves with their good coaches, and everything I've heard from everybody is he's soaking up everything and exponentially improving himself. And then that coupled with the fact that he's at a place where has all the recovery tools that you could ever want that money can barely buy unless you're like the NFL or the UFC that buys all this stuff. So he is able to work his butt off with the coaches that he needs to, and also have all the nutrition taken care of and all the recovery things. So he's growing exponentially, and he's going in and he's going to fight a guy that's still working another job. I don't know what Stipe's hours are or whatever, but I guarantee he is not in the gym as much. And this is no offense to Stipe, and I'm not trying to say that he needs to be more, because the dude's still a beast. But, man, right now it's just hard to not think, and this kills me that, old Stipe could lose his belt, but it's hard to not think that there's anybody that has a chance right now with the rise that Francis is going.
The Ivan Drago comparison is actually like more apt than I had thought about. You know what I mean?
Dude.
Because other than the fact that they're not shooting needles in him,
Right.
it is like a complete program around him.
Everything, and nobody's utilizing it like Francis is.
Nobody
What
is.
became the joke around the office, because they're like, holy shit, Francis is there more.
gym.
Like, I mean, we talked to Fiasco. There'd be times he's working at his desk, and Francis is walking by, like, checking out what they're working on in the other parts of the headquarters.
It's crazy.
The dude is there, and he's taking it so far. We saw how good Joe B's recovering from his time
I
there.
ran into Joseph Benavidez, so I'll touch on that in a second.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I mean, it is unreal. I mean, like, and I think you're going to see more people get to the point where they're like, geez, I need to relocate to Vegas. I need to get access to this thing. Or they're going to start whining and complaining, and then they're going to make the UFC start limiting access because people are going to start saying it's an unfair advantage, even though they all have the access to it. But
That's
he
right.
made the decision when he was looking at places to move to the United States, chose Vegas specifically because of the Performance Institute and the performances that we're seeing on him, his retransformation of his body.
It's crazy.
He doesn't even look the same
doesn't.
from when he started.
He doesn't.
I mean, and he's getting tested, folks. He's just literally living in a gym with the best place, with the science behind it, and his punching power. What he was able to do to Overeem, holy cow, folks.
Scary.
I watched it over and over, and it was like just mesmerizing, because you're like, Was it really flush? Was that full power? It didn't even look like it was full power, but it was flush. So you just makes you wonder. And the shot that Overeem took on the ground was even just as devastating.
Oh.
But if you notice the placement too,
it was pinpoint.
It was perfect.
Pinpoint.
Perfect from 3 or 4 feet away. Was able to make that lunge in and hit it. Holy shit, he is on a whole different level. And I have no doubt in my mind, sorry, Stipe, that France is going to take it. So, yeah, when it comes to the most exciting fights that's coming forward, I think people are excited because they have a heavyweight. Nothing against Stipe. Stipe is just not going to go out there and talk the shit that maybe other divisions need somebody to talk all this garbage to get you excited. This is just pure raw power that people are just like, it's like watching a fire outside. You just can't help but watch it, and you want to just get closer. You want to just see more of it.
And Francis has that star quality about him, right?
Yeah.
Like, we always say that it factor that you can't really define, but when you see it, you're like, oh, that's a star right there.
Yeah.
And it's him. The way he carries himself, the way he talks, like he'll never talk like Conor McGregor, and God bless that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he'll have a little subtle trash talk here and there. A little. He told Overeem when they were facing off, like you're going to sleep, and you know what I mean, like cool stuff like that. But I'm pumped. It's funny, we always say, not huge wagers by any stretch, but living in Las Vegas, you watch the line. As expected, Francis Ngannou did open as the favorite, minus 160. Almost immediately, it was bet down to minus 125 because you see people going, wait, I can get the heavyweight champion of the world, Stipe Miocic, as an underdog?
Yeah, crazy.
And people jumped on that line. Well, guess what? Now it's all the way back up over the opening line. Now it's minus 180. Leading towards Francis. So, early money came in on Stipe, and then everybody was like, "Oh no, thank you, give me Francis."
I bet that'd be like a minus. I bet it'll match the event. It'll be like a minus 220 by the time that happens. Probably
crazy. I'm pumped.
But
for this
dude,
fight.
Stipe, I'm all about it. And as much as I'd be afraid to interview Francis afterwards from saying this,
whatever. Yeah.
Stipe can.
Whenever Stipe wins, you're like, bro, I knew my Buckeye had this dog. I knew my Buckeye.
I knew my dude could do it, just like when Cody pulled out his shit. Dude, Stipe has more heart than anybody else. I think anybody can choose to be a firefighter when you could be just the heavyweight champ of the world. I mean, the dude's got grit. He's got heart. He loves. I mean, he's all things Cleveland, which as you know, it's a tough place to live, and it's a tough place to support. And he puts his heart in that. So the dude's tough. And
until I die.
Until he dies, and you never know. There's always the chance that Francis could be too overconfident, go forward, and just expect his power. From what we've seen, I mean, the Overeem fight would have been that fight to really showcase that.
Right.
If there was a fight where if he was too overconfident, we saw that he was still able to kind of sit back, use his boxing, and just lay hands. And
well, that's what I think, to get a knockout that early and it not be because you came out being ridiculously aggressive.
Yeah.
Like he was being –
yeah.
He was studying. He was
if anything, that was Overeem's downforce, trying to maybe do something. You hope that. I just don't know what plan you try to do.
I mean, you try to take him late, right? But
how do you do that?
Exactly. You're like, it's like
you can't just run.
It's like Mike Tyson's punch out back in the day. You're like, hold on, bro. You got to dodge the uppercuts for the first minute and a half.
All right, go right. All right, go left.
I love that fight. I'm bummed that I'm not going to be there, but I'm glad that you get to see it, man, because that's going to be a great night. And listen, I'm excited about being at Bellator. I love the heavyweights, the Grand Prix. I know some people have kind of got mixed feelings on it. I love the heavyweight Grand Prix, man. I think just the collection of names they have in there is fun. So I'm excited about that. But I got to say, man, that fight to me right now is the biggest one on the horizon. I did run into Joseph Benavidez while I was there at the Performance Institute as well.
Joe B.
I was leaving as he was coming in, but I had a chance to just talk to him real briefly. He said, by the way, and I mean, this was just two guys talking, so maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but hell, he said, listen, I think I'm going to be good to go by March or April, like fighting in March or April.
I think he's pretty much said that. I think even when he was on radio, he thought he was like 75%.
Okay, good.
I thought he was saying that he thought he was like 3 or 4 months out.
He said he's resumed training.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything's looking good. He's not. He said he's not full-fledged sparring yet, but he's doing full grappling and again, he was showing up to the Performance Institute because I ran into him outside. Him and I'm gonna apologize that I don't remember her name right now, but the lead physiotherapist there, she was with him. They were walking to the Performance Institute. They were about to start his rehab. I mean, the facilities and what they have available to them. If people want to take advantage of it and are willing to be out here in Las Vegas, either temporarily or permanently. I mean, dude, you could get rental properties pretty cheap out here if you wanted to,
or even if just a couple fighters. I mean, if you were somewhat friendly with somebody, I mean, like there's plenty of Airbnb places out here. Just even if it was a matter of say it's a 3-month camp or whatever, and just talk to somebody and be like, hey, bro, you want to go in on something? We're both slated for something, because if I think that 3-month period, granted that would ask a lot for your coaches to be out here as well, and that's the thing. There aren't coaches per se at the PI.
That's
you
right.
have to be able to have your
technique
team.
Coaches. You got strength and conditioning. You got nutrition.
You got your nutrition.
You got rehab, but you don't have technique coaches.
Yeah. So I mean, if you wanted to try to make the move or whatever, I mean, it's definitely doable. You could find places to stay. It definitely gets tougher when you start bringing all the coaches that you would have at your home base into the equation. But if you can make it work, holy cow!
What if? Check out this for a business idea, and I'm only sharing it because I don't have nearly the resources to be able to do it. Wonder if it'd be worth it to have like a couple of houses as rental property that were basically set up to be like fighter camp houses. I mean, you would literally like market to those people. Like you said, there's people always coming out here for camps and whatever. Couple of properties, right? I mean, again, this is not something that's going to get you rich,
right?
But a nice little side project for somebody that happens to like MMA,
that happens to be a fan and wants to just help them out.
Yep, find you some properties. I mean, you rent it out. I mean, it's not like you're not giving it to them for free. But you get you a couple properties right next to the PI, and you target these, these fighters. Like, hey, if you want to come in, you can book my place from this date to this date. We're going to give you a nice monthly rate, a nice 2-month rate or whatever, and you do like whatever it would take to make sure the house was as comfortable as it could be for fighters, like maybe certain types of blenders, certain types of food preparation equipment, or you know what I mean, like something that was like,
unless you want to go like the Rocky theme, just logs and concrete blocks.
I thought you were going back to Drago and saying just steroids ready to shoot up or whatever. I like it. Yeah, just hanging meat.
Yeah, just hanging meat for you to kind of just beat on and stuff. I don't know. Maybe some people feel afraid. Maybe then it goes back to the stereotype. Some people be like, oh, I don't know if I want to rent it out to a bunch of fighters for months. I've watched that Ultimate Fighter show, and all they do is punch holes in the walls.
Well, yeah, that's all you'd ever seen.
If that's your frame of reference of what fighters are, it might be a little bit dated.
That probably wouldn't be good. All right, so listen, we should say, since we are here in Las Vegas and enjoying a Thirsty Thursday here at Boomers, we're not having a Ballast Point home game, and for a particular reason. I felt like with where we're at right now, out of respect for the great Boomers, we had to put our good friends at Ballast Point to the side. We'll touch base with them again in 2018 and get the Ballast Point home game going again. But there's some sad news in the MMA Roadshow community. Cole Coffey, would you like to just lay it out there?
I will. Boomers, as much as we've come to call it home, Boomers is shuttering their doors at the end of the month. It's kind of off. It is definitely off the strip.
16 years.
It's kind of way. Yeah, 16 years. And it's a place you have to go to Boomers. You're not going to happen to be driving by Boomers and all of a sudden see it and say, oh, hey, I'm going to pull in there. It is definitely a place that you have to take a side street, to get there. But unfortunately, they are choosing to get out of the business for whatever reason. It's not the craziest, busiest place, and that's one of the reasons why we love it. It's definitely a low-key neighborhood joint, but it is, it is closing down. So
I felt like it'd be bad to roll in with our complimentary Ballast Point.
Well, she actually even told me when I saw her yesterday, she's like, that's why I didn't get Ballast. She's like, FYI, that's why I didn't get Ballast Point in here.
Because it was like, why am I going to bring it on
why am I going to bring something in if I'm just going to have to turn right back around? So, I got clued into that last night. So, because it was kept a secret for a long time because they were trying to sell it. And, ultimately, they probably could have did a better job of trying to sell it further out. They kind of decided to sell it last minute, and then all of a sudden now it's just like they're shutting their doors. So it's too bad they didn't try maybe a few months out. And that's tough. It's the end of the year. Maybe people, don't have it to try to take on another business at the end of the year or whatever. But we have next week. We'll be here. So hopefully we'll have a fiasco. But we'll be here next Thursday, and the day after that, Friday is the last day. So I'm going to do some location scouting got a couple of ideas and suggestions from some people here. We'll look at some other places and stuff, but it's just not going to be the same. I mean, this is
It's been your neighborhood pub.
so yeah, it's the neighborhood bar, man. Like old Agent H is busted up about it. You know, she likes coming. This is where she gets her little girl talk. She'll talk with the girls behind the counter. I can just game a little bit and like do your thing, get all that little talk that you want to have with me at home, and I have to just not talk about. Like I don't know girl shit. I don't know clothes and makeup and hair. Not that that's all they talk about, but like
I love that. Oh my God. I hope Fernanda Pratchett is not listening to this one. Like, I don't know. I mean, all they do is just sit there and talk
well, I mean,
makeup and hair.
I'll just be honest. She's not fucking. They're not talking politics. That's for sure. You know, it's usually whatever shit. Heather's like, she's real big on like perfumes and leather. She's like, oh, what are you wearing? Oh, I love that smell. And at that point, I've cued it. I've already
at that
turned
point
it
you're
off.
out. I'm with you.
I've already
I'm
like
with you.
signed off in my head, and so I don't know. So yeah, no, I didn't mean to be insensitive and say that. That's all women. But just strictly saying that's all the fuck they talk about when I'm with them, next to them. Yeah, we're going to have to find another spot for us around the neighborhood. But as for us, and the bigger, more pressing is for us at the Roadshow. So we have a couple suggestions, but we'll be here and we'll blow it out next week. You know, even though it'll be fight week, you know, we'll come in, we'll do our things, and we'll give it maybe a proper send-off and try to find something. This has been good. They've been really, really good to us. I mean, like here, I didn't even go up to the bar. You know, we still get the service here. You know, she brings the beers here. You know, they turn down the radio on this side of the room. It's going to be tough to find another joint that does it like that. So
It's gonna be tough. Anybody that's come and visit here, and we've had some visitors over the years come here, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it because I mean, this was the quintessential dive bar, and it's so crazy because literally you walk out the front door, you look to the left, and the Las Vegas Strip is. I mean, you could throw a rock and hit it. I mean, you'd have to be a pretty good arm.
Really, really good arm.
15's a big. It's a big highway.
It's a big highway, but it is. It's right there. I mean, the Circus right there. You got the, you know, the President Tower over there.
The Trump building.
I tried to not throw his name out there. You know,
I like that.
But no, it's a great spot and a good location. So I'm hoping somebody maybe takes up the flag afterwards, and maybe we'll be back in a new improved something over here. But we'll find a different location. That's on my honey-do list. Even though next week there are some stuff happening, so I'll try to see if I can do some scouting for some spots and see what we can do.
The show will go on. That's for damn sure.
You know, the new year will start at a different location. So
there you go. All right, listen. I should say, if you like what you're hearing, do us a favor. Jump in iTunes. Make sure you're subscribed. Rate us. Take a second. Rate us. Review us. You can leave us some feedback. You can be like my boy J.K. Bruce Leroy, who gave us Cold Coffee 1 star.
Oh, J.K.
1 star. He says the review is titled, "You're an idiot for saying you like Covington's shtick." So, first of all, J.K. Bruce Leroy, thanks for listening. Secondly, it goes, "Your commentary / breakdowns are bad enough, but when you help someone glorify their non-martial artist shtick, helping to bring the art / sport down instead of advancing it, it's simply too shameful. Great job. You're as simple as you sound. Good luck."
How do you spell shtick? Is that
S-C-H-T-I-C-K. Yes, he's correctly spelled shtick there. So, listen, hey, appreciate your feedback. F you. But
but that's you're all entitled to your thoughts.
I
appreciate
agree. But
it.
I mean, do you have to give 1 star to the entire podcast? And we're talking about 143 consecutive weeks of mixed martial arts content from around the globe, including and a half episodes as frequently as possible. And we get 1 star because I happen to respect Colby Covington's efforts. Now, I'm not saying Colby Covington, like the whole, Brazil filthy animals.
Why do you hate Brazil, John?
You know me.
Why do you hate Brazil?
29 trips to Brazil. You know me. I can't stand Brazil. I think that was a little bit much. But you know what? I do respect. Look, Colby Covington, 600 fighters on the roster. How many stories are written about him? And let's admit, I think Colby Covington is an incredibly talented fighter. I really do. I'm a huge fan of his grappling. I've said it time and time again. I love his scrambling ability, man. The way that, you're like, oh, he's stuck, and then all of a sudden he's on somebody's back. His ability to get out of bad positions, I am a huge fan of. He's getting better at striking, but it's not his forte. His style to me is good, but it's not the most fan-friendly style in the world. He's not going out there, throwing out capoeira kicks and going crazy. But at the same time, he's getting story after story after story written about him, getting himself involved in potential big-name matchups. And I don't know if he would be able to do that otherwise. And so what I say is I respect it. I'm a fan of a guy that understands that you control your own destiny to some degree, and you need to take your own career into your own hands, because if you step back and hope that things get done for you, it's not going to work out in your favor. And you only have a very, very small window of time to make as much money as possible in this business before your body precludes you from doing it any longer. And I like the fact that Colby Covington says, I'm going to make myself stand out. I'm going to get myself involved in big matchups. And does he cross the line sometimes? Sure, but I think you got to push the envelope a little bit. I mean, I think Conor McGregor has crossed the line a couple of times where I'm like, come on, bro, you're going a little bit too far right now. But it's you have to respect what he's done. I mean, did Chael Sonnen cross the line sometimes? Yeah, he did. But on the whole, overall, it was good. So, listen, I'm as much of a mixed martial arts purist as the next guy, but we do have to understand the realities of our business. And I do respect the fact he does what he does. So, I don't know. First of all, you're right. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but it did kind of upset me that out of all the content we provide, one opinion gets us 1 star. That hurts a little bit, my friend. And also, it made me think, God damn, how much is Colby Covington getting under people's skin that dude is willing to, mother F us with a 1-star rating just because he hates Colby Covington.
That's true. I like the recently on the Junkie Radio when Alex Davis was on there. And, Alex is a diehard. He's ATT. He's going to defend his teammates. But he's also a Brazilian American,
right.
So Alex has deep, deep roots. And Alex even went out there and say, I get it. I get what he's trying to do. Colby's going out there. He's saying what he needs to say. But also he went into a country that was telling him he needed to die, and all this other stuff. So he's like, I understand why he lashed out. Granted, Colby has done that, and he's running with it, and he's doing all these little things that, for the same reason, people seem to absolutely love Conor. Conor went out and as bold and brash as anybody, and he says a lot of shit, and he has a lot of haters in turn, but he also has people that absolutely adore him. So I definitely don't hate I don't want to say I don't hate Colby's method or his techniques. I respect what he's trying to do, his effort. There you go. I'll say I respect his effort because
there you go.
That way I don't maybe have to say I appreciate what he's doing.
Coffee, I'm just simple. I'm as simple as I sound. So sometimes I lack the vocabulary that you bring to the table.
Oh yeah, I have the big vocabulary. Half the time I can't even say the word because I don't know what fucking word I'm trying to say. So I curse way too much. So, but whatever. But hey, that's your right as a listener to log on and give John 1 star, but Cold Coffee 5 stars.
Wow. Or maybe if you've thought about reviewing us and you just haven't, now maybe you want to jump in and counteract this 1-star review. I mean, we're trying to grow the podcast, and J.K. Bruce Leroy is basically hating on us like he's Colby Covington and we're Brazilians. He's trying to hold us down. He's trying to ruin everything for us by this horrible 1-star review. So maybe if you want to counteract that,
is he like a Bruce Leroy?
I mean,
fan?
it's J.K. Bruce Leroy. So he's like, just kidding, Bruce Leroy. I don't know.
That's kind of weak.
That's kind of. I'm just saying. So maybe if you've always thought about leaving us a review and some feedback, and now you're hearing us get slammed, and maybe you can say, hold on.
Maybe it's just kidding, Bruce Leroy, or
maybe that.
Do you know Bruce Leroy? Yeah, do you know him?
Terrible. All right, listen. Speaking of crazy talk, because that review was just crazy talk. Speaking of crazy talk. Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. Did you ever think you'd hear it again? Did you think we were done with this garbage, that we were not going to have to ever hear this again?
Hell no. There's that much money involved with the fact that Conor doesn't seem to want to come back and fight and defend anything. Of course that talk was going to happen.
As you can see, we didn't lead with this. We're going to put this late in the podcast. But I did want to ask kind of what you thought with this coming out, because, I mean, I didn't think we were going to hear discussion of this, but you're right. With that much money involved, it makes sense. But
I mean,
the
fact of what made more ridiculous to me, the idea of those two fighting again didn't seem out of place, because I assumed that there could be another boxing match. I assume that it still can happen, But the reality and the thought that he would ever enter an octagon and fight Conor in an MMA match is just absolutely ridiculous.
Never gonna
to make it even somewhat close, Conor would have to fight from his knees, be able to throw no kicks or something, and he would still win.
Well, it's funny. So this conversation first started happening. I guess, first it comes out, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Dana chimed in on it, but I went back and read Dana's quotes, and Dana never said we're talking about – I mean, he hinted at a fight, I guess, but he never said, like, we're talking about making this fight happen. But, he said you never know the possibilities, but that's just Dana talk. Promoter talk is let your imagination run wild, right? That's what he's good at. I do believe that Dana and Floyd are talking. I do believe that Dana and Floyd are talking. I do believe that Dana and Leonard Ellerby are talking. I do believe that Dana and Al Heyman are talking.
It's all just propaganda to get him involved with Zuffa boxing.
Absolutely. Whether it be help shuttle some of your fighters to us, whether it be help promote, you know what I mean? I definitely, because I think Dana's even hinted this, in the way that UFC was like, no, we don't cross promote, we do our thing. I think Zuffa boxing will be the entire opposite. Like, I don't think Zuffa boxing is going to have 600 roster, 600 fighters under their roster. They're going to have to play nice with everybody else.
I think that's I think that's just boxing in general.
Exactly.
I haven't worked a boxing event where it's only been one promoter. It's always been two promoters at least, know. Two. I think I've one that had 3, which is because they're their dude. So if you want to have a fight with this guy, my promoter comes on board. Right. So I could see them completely doing Zuffa boxing Mayweather production fights.
Right.
Who's Erickson who was even like, oh, maybe they'll bring him on board to be the face of Zuffa boxing. I don't think he doesn't really need to, and I think he would like to be separate because I don't think, one,
that's too much.
And he also, got on Conor's case about how Dana was his dad, Dana was his boss, and I don't think Floyd ever wants that to be the case. I think he always wants to be in charge.
Good point.
So I could always see that I could see a Mayweather and Zuffa boxing promotion for sure. I mean, that's no skin off his back, and that's just doing business. And Dana even said that's what they were trying to reach out to all the guys. The only guys that weren't was De La Cuckoo and Bob Arum.
Right.
So I could see that, but for Floyd, I mean, let's be real, because even when they brought in CM Punk, they had to find somebody that was a comparable athlete,
a neophyte in the sport,
and nobody is going to pay $300 million or whatever to watch Floyd make his debut against a 0-0 fighter.
Well, I retweeted Demetrius Johnson was like, let me move up. I'll move up 20 pounds, GOAT versus GOAT. I retweeted because I just thought it was cool that he was saying that.
Yeah,
but knowing that's never going to happen. I mean, you take whoever you think is the worst featherweight in the entire division, and they smoke Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah. I mean, all they have to do is, all right, eat a punch, single leg, double leg, takedown, done.
Right.
And then all you got to do is just literally.
That's not hating on Floyd Mayweather.
No, I mean, if Floyd, if they could set it to where he could keep his hands in play, then it's a no-brainer that he can evade punches and he can strike. And we saw what he does when he actually makes contact. Because
Floyd could outbox everybody from 145 and under. Everybody in the UFC roster, 145 and under. And I'd start going up to lightweight, welterweight. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, when it comes to technology, boxing,
exactly.
Yes, he can. I mean, as for eating a bunch of punches, I mean, even, you take certain guys, I mean, they might miss. They might be hitting them with 30%, 40% strength, 50% because of Floyd's technique, a way to evade it. But just like when we saw when Conor fought a bigger Nate Diaz, he was taking more damage than what he was used to at that point. So he started wearing down. So all these other factors. So even if Floyd, I mean, he can't go too far ahead.
Can't go too crazy.
I mean, they wouldn't get too crazy. But, so it just doesn't make sense business-wise for the UFC. I mean, as much as a circus sideshow, he would never make $1 billion because they can never book him fighting 0-0 fighters or 0-1 fighters 3 times in a row. You could do it once.
Okay.
And even then, it would be a joke.
I saw some people throw out Floyd Mayweather versus CM Punk.
That's what I threw out. That's what
I
was joking.
That? Were you one of them? All right.
Well, I just did it in our video chat. That's all I was. I was like, he's practically still an 0-0 fighter. He had the one fight, and he, That would be interesting.
Would you be into it?
Oh, I'd totally be into
I'm
it.
kind of into it too.
I mean, I think
Is that
that's the only
embarrassing?
way. That's the only way. I
J.K.
think.
Bruce Leroy is not going to be
Like,
happy about that.
I mean, CM. CM Punk. I love his work ethic. I mean, he is really trying to do this. He just is coming from a late point in the game against a lot of these cats that have been doing it for years and years.
Huge training
He
experience
needs
deficit.
somebody that has a name, and this is a much bigger name, but also is coming from a point of MMA of almost a zero background. But now Phil at this point has, 2 years?
Yeah.
Maybe of training, maybe 3, if I'm remembering wrong. So he has time of doing this thing, but he also now has a skill that is better than Floyd. When he brings in wrestling, when he can bring in all these other little skills, he just needs to be able to weather the strikes and get to a point where he can do his game. And yeah, I'd be more excited for that fight than just Floyd fighting a handpicked 0-0 fighter.
I would too.
Because
I know
I
that's
want
stupid.
to see CM Punk fight again. And unfortunately, most of the cats that they're throwing at him and other guys in the division have just such a head start on him that he's God bless him. The dude jumped in the baddest organization of bad motherfuckers, and he took a fight, and he was willing. And we
CM
saw
Punk's a good dude. He is a good dude. I know people hate on him, and I get it. But he is
Yeah.
a good dude. Every interaction I've ever had with that guy, and
he's
I
sharp,
don't
man.
know him, but dude, he's every interview, every interaction, like, the guy, like, sharp and just humble, man. Just has never said like I'm the greatest ever. He's like, dude, I'm new at this.
Yeah.
But I happen to be wealthy,
Dude,
and I
if-
happen to have a big social media following, and I happen to be able to try
And his
this.
wife's hot as fuck.
Is she? I don't.
Yeah, I
I've
think
never
it's
seen
his wife, right?
Is it?
Yeah, that she was like, I want to say she was like a restitute, like that. She got like an Asian mix or something there. Holy fuck. Oh, yeah, she's fucking smoking.
So you notice the details that I don't. I'm just simple. I'm just simple.
But, dude, if fucking CM needs to get on Twitter and just start hitting it and be like, yeah, I saw all that talk, hey, I'm still down to get the MMA game, Floyd, hey, what's up? And just start
All right,
hitting it.
But all right, at the end
It
of the
won't
day,
happen,
I was
but
gonna say at the end of the day, I know we were just having like a fantasy discussion, right?
Well, yeah, no, I was
this is
throwing
two
that out
dudes
there.
sitting in a bar that's gonna close in a week and a half, just talking shit.
Oh,
I know.
It's been like a downer episode for sure.
I know. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. I mean, on a scale, like if you had to give it a percentage
Of what, Floyd fighting MMA or
yes,
those
period.
two?
No, Floyd fighting MMA.
Ugh.
0.0001. No, I don't even think there's a .0001. It's zero. It's just zero.
I mean,
the answer is zero.
Because he would never do it unless he could get. He wants $300 million.
The answer is zero.
Yeah,
It's zero.
It just. He's sooner to fight boxing again. I could see him fighting Conor. He has a better chance of fighting Conor in boxing again than
wants
ever
to see
fighting
that?
MMA.
Do you want to see Mayweather versus Pacquiao? That's stupid too, right? I mean, I'm sorry.
McGregor and
McGregor
Pacquiao?
and Pacquiao.
I mean,
I have no desire to see that. Can I be honest? No desire.
well, I just know that because Fight Week sucks covering some of the boxing shit. But no, I mean, I'm down. I mean, why not? Why not? I mean, he's not fighting fucking MMA. So if I want to see him fight again,
It's gotta
You know?
be. It's gotta be Conor Tony Ferguson next. It's gotta be.
well, I mean,
I
I
hope
would
so.
like it to be. That would for the legitimacy of him still saying that he's an MMA fighter. I mean, he's an MMA practitioner. I mean, I don't know. I would love to see him because I mean, I think that's the fight that makes sense because Tony's talked a lot of shit, and I'd either love to see him back it up and destroy Conor, or
What
have
if it's
Conor
Conor
come in
GSP?
there.
So
And,
to me right now, the only fight I want to see right now with Conor McGregor is Tony Ferguson. That's the only fight
well, there
I
you
want
are.
to see.
You're like trying to make the division legit again and make it seem
I'm
like
simple.
belts are
I'm
working.
simple.
You are simple. It's like you want the belts to mean something.
I mean, if GSP, if this, I mean, and I said it
I'm
all
go-
along.
I mean,
I said it all along. Now, I was being crazy because I said all along it'd be GSP versus Conor for the 185-pound title.
Oh, Jesus.
Which
Yeah.
now that's not going to happen since he
Yeah.
dropped it. But I thought that would be a crazy way for Conor to move up even higher and try to, again,
But at
he'd
what
weigh in
weight
at like
to do-
Conor would weigh like 173
That's
with
what I
like,
say, but it wouldn't be for the belt.
with rolls of quarters in his pocket.
But that's the thing.
But
I
it
mean,
would
like,
be as long as he weighed 173, 171. It'd be for the belt. You don't have to weigh 185. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
he doesn't
GSP
have-
dropped the
but
belt.
there's no 170
So
I was
no,
gonna say
no,
that-
no, you're saying where would GSP and Conor meet?
Yeah. They'd have to meet at some where
170,
they still had
170,
nothing to lose. Like
170.
Conor,
Yeah, that's
I can
what
see
I'm
him doing
saying.
because he has nothing to lose.
It's just a super.
But
It's a
I
quote
would
unquote
love to watch
super
it.
fight.
I would like to watch it.
over Tony Ferguson.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, for sure. No, I mean that's a whole different thing. I mean, I've always said that from the get-go. I've always wanted Conor to just defend the belts. I want legitimacy to the belts. I want people that have belts to fight for their belts. I mean, I get it if a guy's got a belt and he wants to fight in another division against the champ of another division. If that champ's good for it, I don't mind that as much. But you at least got to fight and defend your belt. This whole walk away from your division and fight something that means nothing really, and you're just putting the division on hold, just absolutely sucks. But in terms of watching Conor fight GSP, fuck yeah, I would want to watch that fight.
Can you imagine, man? You know what's crazy? Like, I feel like Conor McGregor's career. Obviously, he's wealthy and he's done incredibly great for himself. But I feel like the entire future of his career, I don't want to say it's like hangs in the balance, but it's at a crossroads right now. You know what I mean? Like, if he does some weird fights and he takes some wins and losses and some big money fights, then you go, wow, that guy was special, but how great was he? But can you imagine if he bears down and is all of a sudden like, you know what? All right, I got rich boxing. There's nothing else there that makes sense boxing. Nate Diaz, who knows if he's going to fight anymore? I'm definitely not going to welterweight anymore. Can you imagine if Conor McGregor now reeled off like 10 straight wins at lightweight or something like that? Like, I mean, that would be. I mean,
he has the ability to do it.
That's what I'm saying. I would love to see that. I want to see him come back and legitimize, because I feel like Conor's almost like, and if he fights GSP, I mean, I can't blame him for taking another big money fight, right? I mean, that would be a big money fight. But then you're like, oh man, is he as good as we thought he was, or is this just? But can you imagine if he just like reeled off 10 straight at lightweight, like, you know, smashed Tony Ferguson, you know, smashed a couple other people, whatever. I mean, just, you know, maybe fights Max Holloway again if Max Holloway keeps the run going. I mean,
that one makes sense.
I would love to see.
I would love to see that.
I would love to see all that happen. Remember.
That's a fight that if I had to pick one that outside of the Ferguson one that I wanted to see, I want to see where Holloway stands now as for what, because they both have grown exponentially from
at 155 or like 150 in the middle or something. Or?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing if Conor, you know, he still feels like he lost that belt. They stripped it from him, and he feels unjustly that they took it away. Drop down and show your dominance in that division.
Just once, and if you win,
Just
you're like, I'm not staying here. You can have it back, Max.
you go back up, and you just say, hey, fellas, that's it. I can do it in whenever I want.
That's what excites me.
I can just drop down if I want.
That's what gets me tingling.
Y'all can play in that division, but just know that I own the division.
Daddy's here anytime he wants.
Anytime he wants, I'll drop down.
That's what gets me tingling, man.
Yeah.
Not GSP. I mean, I don't blame the guy for taking a money fight, but I don't blame the guy if he does box Pacquiao. I can't blame a guy for cashing in on as much as he can. But what gets me tingly is like, dude, let's see Conor fighting in those fights that really matter, man. I mean, the Nate Diaz trilogy. Like, seriously, dude, he could fight. He could fight right now. He could fight GSP, Nate Diaz, and Manny Pacquiao. Call it a day. Probably be damn near a billionaire by that point. You know what I mean? But I would not look back on him as respectfully and as gratefully and as excitedly as if I would if he'd go back and face Tony Ferguson and face Max Holloway. And you know what I mean? Like, that's what I want to see.
Right. And I think that's the best part is the fact that if he's able to kind of do what he's doing, have all these mega fights, go off to the side, you know, and make all this money and still come back and legitimize the fact that he has these belts, you know, and just take it. I mean, how it would be hard to deny his legacy at that point. I mean, it's hard to deny his legacy right now. There's just questions about it right now because everybody's like, oh, yeah, he's able to attain these levels, but he never defended. He did whatever. He's just riding the rocket wherever the rocket goes, you know. I think the fact that if he wanted to really solidify it, I mean, he's always going to be – at this point, he's already solidified the fact that he will always be a name in history.
He's a part of history. He's a part of history.
But
he's not one of the greatest fighters ever. Like, seriously, if somebody sits at the table right here at Boomers or wherever we go in 2018 and says, you know what, Conor McGregor is the greatest fighter in mixed martial arts history, I'm like, get out.
Yeah.
Get out. You don't even deserve to sit at this table.
Yeah,
you know
I agree. I agree. It's tough because, I mean, and I think it always goes down to just the what do you call it? The criteria. You know, when it comes, because for some people it's It's looking at like DJ and thinking, oh, okay, how many defenses did he have? How many of this? But it's tough to say because when you start going to like, all right, this guy won in this division. This guy won in this division. This guy left and put it on, the world's greatest boxer for 3 rounds. So I mean, it's hard to kind of, take it away, but it just depends. I mean, I think it just depends on what glasses that you're wearing and what, filter that you're putting in. But it's hard to deny the fact that, in terms of, you think of one of the greatest athletes in terms of impression and scope and worldwide fame, it's hard to argue that he is not one of the biggest stars that's ever been.
These names still elicit a response, man. It was so funny. I thought we were done talking Mayweather-McGregor, and as soon as it came out in the news, I was like, here we go again.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, man, you start talking about him, it's fun. All right, listen, I've got one more thing I want to talk about, and it's not a small thing. It's kind of a big thing. So let's do this. Let's take a quick moment to reset. We don't have any interviews this week. Again, it's the holiday, so rather than bore you with our interviews, we'll just take a brief pause while we reset, and then we'll finish up with something that was a bit of a reader suggestion, and then something that kind of got hammered home by an email today, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. All right. A little bit of a brief break there to restart. You're still listening to the MMA Road Show. John Morgan, cold coffee. I like to call myself simple, John Morgan. Simple. J.K. Bruce Lee.
I'm just a simple cold coffee.
Just a thorn in my side right now. Now I'm moving on. All right, listen. So this was something that came up from our boy Zane, actually, down there in New Zealand, man.
Down under. Yeah.
They don't say that in New Zealand, do they?
Yeah. Yeah, we do what we want, yeah. Yeah.
That's so awful. I don't think, A, they don't sound like that. B, they don't say
now
that
Zane's
at
not going
all.
to listen, eh? I'm done with y'all, yeah?
But
eh?
Zane had a good idea. He's like, can you guys do a best of 2017 this week and talk about, like, the best city you visited, the best show, the best fight? I mean, like, a lot of good stuff. And I'll say this.
That's tough.
Brilliant idea. The problem is, holy crap, to digest a year's worth of stuff in a couple of days when you were busy, I was busy, we got holidays going on. It's tough. So you know what? A, he's encouraging me to keep better notes moving forward so that at the end of 2018 we could do something along those lines. But so check this out. So he said that, and I was like, man, that is a brilliant idea. I like where he's coming from, right? But then just the sheer enormity of trying to pull that off.
Yeah.
I was like, I will never be able
easy.
to do it justice.
When you said it like that, it made me thinking like, oh, the best city. Like me, my personal favorite.
Tokyo.
It's the same city I always say. Yeah.
Tokyo.
That was crazy. I mean, it wasn't as fun not having you there. And then even the UFC didn't travel as much staff as they normally did too. So, I mean, trips now are different than what they were 2, 3,
totally
4 years ago. So a lot of the time I was solo, going through some of the same old haunts, eating the same incredible food, but,
By yourself.
So
Not
when
the
you're
same.
having that moment of trying to translate to a person, you're trying to like talk and get the food you want and not having that extra buddy to either help you do it or to laugh afterwards when you're like, God, did I just sound like a complete idiot like I think I did, and not having. So it wasn't as fun, but still hands down, I love going to Tokyo. So, a trip this year, a city for sure that was fun for me was definitely Tokyo. But, that's an easy one for me because, that's
That's
like
your
my favorite.
That's probably your favorite city on
It's
earth,
probably my
right?
favorite city on earth. Besides like Italy or somewhere, which unfortunately UFC hasn't taken us there yet. I need to start covering Bellator more often. But it's tough. It's a daunting task to try to look back and look at these things. So yeah, maybe better notes.
Next year when Bellator goes to Rome during International Fight Week, it's gonna
I'm
be the first
gone.
time ever that the two Vegas guys are. I'm out.
We're in Italy.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Speaking, Zane being from New Zealand, I do love Auckland. To me, it's something about Auckland, man. It's just a cool little town, man. It's not a big city, but the scenery is definitely beautiful around there.
Mighty Bush. Before I forget, Mighty Bush.
Mighty Bush?
The Mighty Bush. I think there was some New Zealand guys, Jerome and you have to look it up, but there's like 2 New Zealand guys that were like
I forgot about that.
Incredible. Yeah, the Mighty Bush. But all right, go ahead.
Right. So I got an email today from American Airlines. This is crazy. I got this actually this morning. I've never gotten this from American Airlines. 2017, your year in review. They say the greatest gift you can give someone is your time, and we're grateful you've chosen to spend so much of yours with us in the skies. Here's a 30,000-foot view of our time together this year. I am very brand loyal to American Airlines because they are pretty strong in taking care of me, so much so that from Vegas to Fresno, I actually connected through L.A. on the way because I didn't want to take the direct Southwest Airlines flight. But check this out, Cold Coffee, my year. 253 hours in the sky.
That's crazy.
It's more than 10 days. 10
That's crazy.
full days. 5.5 times flown around the world.
That's nuts.
5.5 times flown around the world. And it turns out that based on my miles flown, I am in the top 6% of all executive platinum members.
Just a simple 6%.
Just a simple 6%. That was pretty crazy.
That is crazy. I fucked up. I have to fix it before we go further. I got two of my favorite shows mixed up. It's Flight of the Conchords that are the New Zealand guys.
Oh.
The Mighty Bush is they're British.
I was
guys.
wondering. I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
But the Mighty Bush is awesome. It's old school. It's not anymore, but Flight of the Conchords.
So think about this. A year ago, when you put 2017 in perspective, the first event of 2017, think about this. Phoenix, Arizona. Short trip for me and you. Just a quick little 45-minute flight out there. Yair Rodriguez, BJ Penn. I mean, certainly things didn't go that well that week, but I remember
it's a fight of legend.
The legend. He was fighting. That's where the birth of the legend was right there. BJ Penn sitting down with him, and I mean, man, I remember doing the show and being like, bro, he's selling me. I'm not saying I'm signing off, but he's selling me, believing that he could do this. And, of course, it didn't work out. But, I mean, God, it's so weird how that seems like just yesterday and also an eternity ago.
It does. Because, now you say that, because we used that setup in did we use the UFC room that they weren't? They got done with their interview room. So we ended up taking their backdrops and borrowed some of the lights that the UFC production crew had finished. And I remember, that after we did that interview, I remember thinking, like, God, that was a great interview with BJ. That was probably one of the better ones we had did with him in a long time because he was very into it. God, that seems like so long.
Isn't that crazy? It seems like just yesterday. I mean, I can picture
that was
the
room.
Of the year, I can picture the interview.
Yeah.
That was the first event of 2017. That same event, remember, Joe Lazon beat Marcin Held. And remember, Joe Lazon came backstage, and he won. He won a split decision, and do you remember he walked back there and he's like, do you guys think I won? And we were like, no. And he's like, I don't either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I thought that was so cool for Joe Lazon to be like.
Lazon's always been that way, though, man. I mean, he's always been the guy that, takes it on the sleeve, but also he's not he doesn't wear blinders. He understands, that sometimes the judges roll in your favor and sometimes they don't. He's taken some tough decision losses, but man, that's a warrior for. Luzon is definitely one of my favorite fighters, just for that, man.
So I'll tell you. So I was kind of looking back. So again, I was going on the idea that Zane had. Like I was like, man, we could build this whole show, and we're gonna have to keep better notes because this is a great
well, we'd have
idea.
to start by taking notes.
But we have to start by When I say better notes, I mean notes. We'll have to do that. But okay, so I started looking through it, and then a couple weeks later, UFC Fight Night 104 Bermudez versus Korean Zombie. I went and did that one by myself because it was Super Bowl week. So it was so expensive down there, it just didn't make sense, and it wasn't that big of a card. But one of the interviews I did that week, Volkan Ozdemir, because it was one of the few people on there that were like, oh, this is kind of interesting, and the launch of Volkan Ozdemir. I mean, think about it. There was literally no media talking to this guy a year ago. There was, I literally, he was not part of the media day. He was not part of anything. And I didn't even really know that much about him, but I was like, well, I want to go, talk to him and meet him and check him out. And we did an interview one-on-one at the the media room. And now look, man, a year later, he's challenging for the light heavyweight title.
It's crazy.
It's just, I mean, how things can change over the course of a year. So, I started trying to do this because I thought Zane's idea was so good. And then I suddenly realized, like, this is impossible. I'm never going to be able to do this.
It's a daunting task. I mean, like, in small terms, like, if I just think of, okay, favorite city or fun city, I can go-to answers. But when you start breaking down favorite fights, fighters that stand out for you, it's tough because one, we do live in this big bubble. We do cover a lot of events, and unfortunately, the UFC doesn't make it easy and just do 13 events in a year.
Right.
So then you can be like,
It's
oh,
40.
I remember.
It's 40.
Yeah, it gets crazy to kind of remember it, and you know, frosty beverages sometimes do cloud the memory,
Probably.
cloud your judgment and what you remember from an event, and no, I think that's a good task going forward. Maybe as a early resolution for next year, that maybe we'll do better of
I'm trying to remember
taking
these
some
moments.
notes and
Well,
stuff.
you know what's funny is because
I mean, it's the thing. Like we remember them. You remember them because
Once-
stories
once
bring
the
it up.
memory's jogged.
Something. Yeah, once something jogs the memory. I mean,
But I think about like the guys that we've identified. We've been doing this podcast for almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
Man. That's crazy, man. And
Yeah.
I think about haven't missed a week along the way, and the number of people. I mean, the people that we've kind of identified as our guy. I mean, me and you have a certain kind of a personality. We like certain things about people. The Jason Knights of the world, the Derek Lewises of the world.
Yeah.
The guys that we've been like, oh. That's my guy. So I gotta say this. So he asked like one of the best fighters you've seen. To me, I gotta say this. As far as anybody that stood out to me this year that I'm really, really excited about, it's definitely Zabit Magomedsharipov. Like that dude to me is legit. I think that dude is legit. And I think sometimes like we identify guys, but then we move on so quick that we don't stay on the hype train a little bit. You know what I mean? We don't stick with them and keep shouting their name. And I think maybe we can do a better job because me and you are one of the only ones going to these smaller shows and watching them, watching the prelims from the very beginning and keep an eye on them. And we could probably do a better job of identifying people and sticking with them. Paulo Bohachina is a guy that, I remember early on we were like, oh, that dude's legit.
Wait, who's Bohachina?
I'm sorry. Paulo Costa. We got away from him.
See, if you would have kept up on him, you would recognize that it's not
right
Bohachina
away.
anymore.
Sorry, I just dropped him off. But so I think that's for 2018. Maybe that's what we do. When we identify a guy, we're like, that's our guy. Then we gotta make sure we gotta keep shouting from the mountaintop. We gotta keep shouting from the mountaintop.
and maybe do like a follow up or come back and just maybe even quarterly. Because if we wait to the end of the year, that's a lot of shit to remember.
True.
Maybe if we do it like quarterly and just say like road shows, best of the quarter, but with a better
How
phrasing.
about this year? Walt Harris. How fun was he this year, man? I love Walt Harris. Finding out he's a junkie guy and his interviews. Another guy that we've been high on for a long time that it's tough because we can't do like English to English interviews. Li Jingling.
Yeah.
We've been so high on Li Jingling, and he had a great performance in Shanghai. That was fun. Eric Spicely. How about a guy like Eric Spicely who I think is one of the funniest guys out there who has no problem busting our balls for not saying hi to him in a steakhouse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He has fun. We mentioned the Jason Knights, the Francis Ngannou.
Yeah.
Francis Ngannou was a guy. Me and you were like that guy right away. But Nico Price, another guy. You know what I mean? That's just been like on that list. So I don't know. I mean, we said a lot of names, but I mean, any name to you this year that you were like, man, that we had a great interview with them, or I remember having a good interaction with them, or anyone that stood out to you?
I don't know, man. It's tough because when you said that to me earlier and we talked briefly about it, it's like there's some moments that just kind of they come and they go, and it just whatever brings it back in the front. And a name that came up earlier, and I think it was because you jarred my memory thinking about different events, and I thought about Singapore and the crazy run that we had there. That you were on like. At that point, your second leg of your trip, and that was my first leg. Or no, that was the second leg after the Auckland trip. So that was
we
your
were
third
finishing
leg.
up. I was on the fourth leg.
Yeah, fourth leg or whatever. I think sometimes when it comes to these fights, it's the saga. It's the ups and the downs, and some points along the ride, you hop on for the ride for a little bit as their career has these ebbs and these flows and stuff. And for some reason, Justin Scoggins popped in my head, and I was thinking about, when we saw him last year, he was so excited to fight, and I remember because he had chatted with us, and I was like, okay, I'm really, really excited for this fight, he says his weight's on point and everything's good, and when he failed to make weight, and I remember seeing the look on his face and the look on his girlfriend's face because we had interviewed him earlier. It was. I felt very bad for him, and it was like painful to watch. And then going into the Singapore event, was going to see him fight again and all this other stuff. And it was just like one of these guys that just stood out to me that
His energy was high that
his
week.
energy was so high.
Man, he seemed like he was in such a positive place.
Yeah, and it just like hooked you, you know? So it's so tough because it's hard for me to really just pick a fighter and say, okay, this is my go-to guy because, you know, we have the guys like, and I think you've named off an incredible list of guys.
But we've seen that journey, man. I mean, Justin
know?
was nice enough last year when he missed weight. You know, the Ian McCall situation, he invited us up to his hotel
That's
room.
another person that I feel like
No, I'm saying Justin. Well,
yeah.
Ian McCall.
Yeah,
but I'm saying
the
before
shit that
Ian, but
Ian's
Justin
going through.
Scoggins. Remember, he
Yeah.
invited us up in his hotel room and all that,
Yeah.
and then it was like a completely different guy in Singapore. But you're
Yeah.
right, Ian McCall is a totally different guy. I mean, that's.
But that's what I'm like. It's tough. It's tough to just like pick a fighter. So I mean, like, because I could almost now we could segue into Ian McCall and the ride that he's been on and the stuff that this is a guy that, you know, after I want to say that was this year, invited us out to where they were out working on trying to cut weight out on the streets.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many guys where it's just like they let us into their lives, and it's these moments that, you know, you get hooked into the ride of what is going on for them. You know, they let you behind the curtain a little bit. A lot of these guys, they're so damn tough, and I mean, you know, I think a lot of times as journalists, which, you know me, I don't even like to consider myself as a journalist.
True that.
You know, they let you behind the wall a little bit to see they let their guard down and they become human, you know, and they stop trying to just talk shit to earn a fight, and they stop trying to just, you know, be the baddest man on the planet, and they just become men or women showing themselves, you know. And Justin did that a couple times, and then seeing that and then seeing the reaction. I remember just leaving just stands out in my head. You know, it's not
Yep.
like I can look and say, oh, okay, you know, God, he went on a crazy run and he just destroyed
we've
8
seen
dudes, you know.
We've seen the roller coaster in Singapore. He fought Oka Sasaki, and his energy was so high, and we were like, this dude's on point.
Yeah, and
then
then
he
to
gets
have
tapped
such
out.
a fall,
Yeah.
you know, and then I felt like I went down with him because, you know, and I mean, I'm just as happy that Sasaki got the win or whatever. I'm happy for him as well. But, you know, that's why I said I think sometimes, you know, and we noticed the same thing when I brought up Robert earlier, the humanity of people. It's you could try to be as unbiased or whatever, but at some point it seeps in through the cracks. And I think the best part that we could try to do is stay somewhat, you know, differential, but, you know, you do address these people, the fact that they are human, and it's hard to not get caught up into them. And when you see so many fighters, there's so many stories, and I threw Justin. I mean, but there could be 30 other guys that I could substitute their names in there.
That's
and
why I
it's
love
just-
the sport. To me,
Right.
man, it's not just the X's and O's. It's not just the breakdown. It's
Yeah.
the human journey.
I mean, think
man.
about Cub Swanson this year.
Oh, my
Cub had
God.
a kid, you know, and I mean, like, his life's been crazy. I mean, like, there's so many guys that, you know, that just, I mean, and as you, something, like you said, triggers or jogs the memory, there's a ton of guys that if we probably just put that as our main focus and we had time to, like, really do it.
I mean, dude. I mean, you know, I was thinking earlier in the year, but Ortega. My week in Fresno
look at
with
that
Ortega
cat,
was
man.
amazing. I mean, we've seen him grow. You know, we've seen him rise up the ranks.
Yeah.
And, you know, man, just
That's just a sign. See, they should deal with the junkie and they should deal with the road show right from the get-go, and within a year,
they're
they
set.
might be, you know, going for the title.
You know, you touched on some earlier, and this was off air right before we started wrapping up here. But you mentioned it, and I gotta say, I think I'm as big of a fan as you are. The Contender Series.
Yeah.
The Contender Series was fun, man.
Very
I don't
memorable.
know. You know, obviously it's funny because we've literally been at every single Contender Series event. So I've never watched one only on Fight Pass. So I don't know if it necessarily comes across the same way.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Well, it's sexy 'cause I
love
guess
being
we
in there.
miss like the Snoop. We don't get the Snoop feel.
don't
that
get the
if
Snoop
somebody's
cast.
watching it on the line, you probably got even better because of the whole Snoop. But that just remind me of Snoop shit. That'll be another story that's memorable from this year about the podcast getting in trouble for mentioning Snoop. That's memorable.
Well, that was memorable. Yeah, that's right. We got in trouble for
Yeah,
that.
but I mean, the Contender Series. I mean, like that was crazy. I mean,
So
because we've seen
ridiculous.
other little stuff, but like the fact that the Contender Series was a home game for us and being able to go over to the Tough Gym, which almost even now feels like you wonder if that's going to be there forever. Because I think there was talks about them getting rid of that, and I think there was. that started sending thoughts of like all the fights that took place there, all the memories that took place there. So to see this Contender Series sort of sprout up there and be able to go back to the tough gym, because without that, there's no real reason, especially as a non-employee of the UFC, for me to ever go back into those doors anymore. But to go there and see these fights, very, very little media turnout. Pretty much it's just people that live here in Vegas. See the families and the teams of these fighters to be right there on bleachers, sitting in front. It's not just like the Ultimate Fighter where it's just the teams, So you're getting to see actual real emotions from the fans that are watching the fights. It's quiet. It's just got a total different feel. But I loved it. And I mean, and it stands out to me as one of those things that just so unique that we're lucky enough being here in Vegas that we actually got to see it.
That was cool.
But again, you're right. I mean, we didn't get to watch it on TV. I don't know how Snoop sounded on the thing, to hear all that, to hear the commentary.
I know how he sounded on the video game.
Yeah, he sounded awesome on the video game, y'all. I hope they keep it. Sorry, EA, we love you. And we got in trouble for talking about it.
We did get in trouble with that. It's been fun to see those guys think seriously. Sean O'Malley, Julian Marquez, Benito Lopez.
Sean O'Malley.
That was so ridiculous that they told us that we literally broke. We didn't even really break.
Didn't even break news. If you're this is the first episode you ever heard and you didn't know the story, but we did a shoot. There was a EA Sports release, and Demetrius Johnson and those cats were there when there was about the new cover and the new EA 3 game. 3, yeah. And so we were embargoed. We had to couldn't put all this interview stuff. We weren't allowed to shoot the presentation. But we were allowed to wait and play the video game, and they wanted people to talk about their experiences. So we talked about our experience. And in talking about the experience,
part of our experience included somebody changing modes, which we were told not to.
But how they spinned it, they were like, play in this, whatever, I forget what the mode was called.
You know what? You're right, because
the knockout
mode. If they said play in the instant mode or whatever. And they said, we really don't want you changing modes because those aren't fully developed.
Yeah, they made it sound like it was a beta.
Yeah, they were like, don't, we don't want you to change modes because you won't get the full experience.
Yeah. So us being us, or me, or whoever that was that sounded just like me or looked just like me, I switched to the knockout mode. And when we put it to the knockout mode, lo and behold, it was Snoop Dogg commenting on the fight, and it was hilarious.
It was amazing.
And it made the game so awesome. So us being us, we talked about it. We thought it was absolutely incredible. And then we, lo and behold, the next day found out
that they were trying to fine people.
Yeah, they got pissed off and called the UFC and said that we broke the embargo and, let out all this shit, blah, blah, blah. So
that was memorable.
Yeah,
that's never happened.
That was memorable. That's a first.
All right, well, listen, since we're taking a trip down memory lane, I will tell you, I've had a couple travel stories this year, some that I probably won't tell since I know my mom is listening. But I'll tell you one that is kind of fun. From Fortaleza, Brazil. Let's set the tone. It's early March. It's the week of Kelvin Gastelum versus Vitor Belfort in Fortaleza. And chilling down in Brazil. I'm hanging out with a buddy that night, and we're at the host hotel, and it turns out that everybody is going to a club. We've already had a couple drinks or whatever, and we're like, hey, I'm not going to the club. We've been there. We've done that. Like, you go to the club, there's too many people. Not everybody can get in. You stand in line, whatever. Let's just stay here. Let's do the right thing, and let's just keep drinking on the beach. All right, cool. Let's just keep drinking on the beach. So we walk across the street to where there's this kiosk where if you've ever been to a Brazilian beach, it's awesome, man. They got these kiosks that are, just a small little place, couple little plastic chairs, couple little plastic tables. The beers are cold.
Got the ocean.
Oh, they're open 24/7. You know what I mean? Life is good. You can't beat it. Cheap beer, ocean breeze. You can hear the waves rolling in. But the buddy that I'm with, and I won't reveal his name because he can tell the story if he ever wants to, but he was with me at the time. He's like, no, I don't want to go to this place because I was here last night and I tried to pay with a credit card and they wouldn't let me, and they let somebody else pay with a credit card. So obviously the owner has a problem with me, or he's, a jerk to me. Like, let's go somewhere else. He's like, let's go down the street. And I was like, bro, I was told we're not supposed to go down the street, man. Like, I was told, like, that area over there is super shady. And he was like, well, come on, I mean, how shady could it be, dude? I mean, we've been in Brazil a lot. And again, this was, I think, my 28th or 29th trip to Brazil. Like, yeah, we have been to Brazil a lot. We've been in some situations. So I was like, yeah, you're right, man. What are we going to see that we haven't seen before? Like,
Normal.
yeah, it's normal. Let's go. So we walk down the beach a little bit, you know, and we're not seeing anything. We're like, oh, what's over here? What's over here? So finally, after a little bit of a jaunt down the street, we walk up and we look over, and we're looking at the beach side of the street, and there's some trees. And when you look back among the trees, there's a little bit of path. You got to walk a little bit to get there, but we can see some people milling about, right? I mean, there's a couple people moving around. Looks like maybe some umbrellas. We're like, looks like a bar's open. So we walk in there, and we're like, hey, you guys open? And everybody's just like, what? Like, nobody speaks English there. And we're like, open? They're like, yeah, sit down. So we sit down at this table. Right away, a girl walks up, and this girl is 40s or more, not really in the best of shape, not really. I mean, she's a little bit rough, right? But she's wearing kind of a halter top and like a mini skirt. Like, she's dressed up, but not looking too great. But whatever, we don't judge. We're just there to get a frosty beverage, right? We're just talking, get a frosty beverage. So she comes up to the table and she's like, in Portuguese, and I don't speak any Portuguese, but in Portuguese, I speak a little bit Spanish, and I can kind of hear her, kind of make out what she's saying. It's basically like, what do you need? I mean, when a server walks up to you, what are they asking you? So we're like, un cerveja grande original, duas, okay, cool. So they bring us some beers, right? And then in broken Portuguese, well, my broken Spanish, her nice Portuguese, broken English, she drops off the beer and she's like, okay, beer here. She's like, and again, this is not sounding exactly the way, but I'm not going to try to do the voice, but she says, okay, here's your beer. What else do you need? We're like, no, we're good right now. She's like, what else do you need? She's like, drugs, sex, women, what do you need? And we're like, just the beer, bro. We're good with the beer. We're good with the beer. And she's like, all right. So she leaves. And she's very like, handsy and trying to tell us like, dude, get like very close up and try to force. And I'm like, we're good. We're good. All right. So she leaves. So we start drinking our beer a little bit. And then, a couple minutes later, she walks up and she's like, still talking. How are you doing? Trying to make small talk, trying to make conversation. We're like, we don't want to talk to you. We're here because we didn't want to go to the club. We want to talk. We want to drink beer. We're just shooting the shit, hanging out, having a good time. She's like, what do you need? Drugs, sex, women, what you need? It's just like, what? Like, no, I don't need anything. What is going on, right? So she leaves again, and we're like, maybe we just need to get out of here. Like, so we're about, you know what, man? Let's just bail. And as we're about to bail, another girl walks up, and she's like, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for her. She's a little bit crazy. She's a little bit aggressive. I'll take care of you instead. And we're like, thank you. Thank you so much, right? You'll take care of us. Cool. So she's good. She's like, all right. So now we're here. So we're sitting outside. There's trees everywhere. The beach is just off to the side. We're hanging out, enjoying it. Now we do look around. Now I will say this. There's this one, like, super hot-ass chick, like, just super smoking hot, that is, kind of wandering around and moving around a little bit, and she's going back and forth from table to table, and I'm like, all right, well, that looks kind of weird. Like, I don't really understand what exactly is going on here with this one really super hot chick that keeps going from table to table, but all right, this is weird. I mean, we're soaking in the scene. We came for a scene. We have a scene. So we're hanging out, drinking the beer a little bit more, and then this other girl who is coming to take care of us now, she's like, hey, so glad you decided to stay. Are you guys doing okay? We're like, you know what? We'll take another beer. She's like, cool, I got you. Walks over, gives us another beer. Brings down the Duas Originals. That was terrible. Why did I rolled it like it was Spanish? Duas Originals, 1 liter original beers that are like $2. They're amazing, ice cold, the way they serve them, fantastic, right? So she brings them down. She drops them off to us. cool. Thank you very much. We're so glad that you're taking care of us now. She's like, no problem. Then a few minutes later, she comes back. She's like, all right, cool. What else do you need? Drugs, sex, women. I'm like, are you serious? Like, how now are you doing the same thing, offering us drugs, sex, women? I thought you were the cool girl that was going to be the less aggressive girl that was going to give us the place that we can hang out, that we can just relax and chill. And now you're saying drugs, sex, women. What do you need? So that's all right. So that happens. And then now I start looking around. I start going, the fuck is going on in here anyway, dude? Like, why does everybody walk up offering us drugs, sex, women?
That doesn't normally happen.
Yeah, I mean, as much as you would think the roadshow crew would get offered drugs, sex, women wherever we go. So I start looking around, right? And I start paying attention. And there's only like 5 or 6 tables worth of dudes hanging out or whatever. And I should mention it was all dudes. And I notice as I start to look around a little bit, and my friend kind of noticed the same thing, as I look around, these girls that are waiting the tables, when they go get our beers, they walk up to the bar, and instead of just getting a drink, they pay for the drink.
Pay for it.
They pay for the drink. So I'm like, oh, what the fuck? All right, so she comes back. Again, this new, younger, nicer lady. She comes back, and she's checking on us again. She's less aggressive, but nonetheless trying to do her job of offering us drugs, sex, women. and I'm like, hey, let me ask you a question. And I didn't, again, I don't speak Portuguese, so I went full Spanish at this point. I said, ahorita, yo quiero pregunta. No, yo tengo una pregunta. ¿Tú trabajas aquí? And with her understanding Portuguese, she was like, no. So saying, do you work here? And she's like, no, I don't work here. And I'm like, ella. And I pointed to the other lady, and I'm like, ella trabajas aquí? And she was like, no, she doesn't work here either. I'm like, ¿Quién trabajas aquí? ¿Quién trabaja aquí? And basically, again, in her broken Portuguese and English, her Portuguese is fine. You get what I'm saying. She says, I gather at this point, no, listen, the bartenders here, they own the bars, just like all the kiosks. Like the guys serving the bar, they own it. But there's a business operating inside the business, right? And I start to look around, and the one hot chick that has been going, now I suddenly realize the hot chick is escorting dudes out to the beach and hanging there for about 7 to 9 minutes.
That's it.
And then coming back. And then heading back out to the beach again with another guy. And I'm like, holy shit, we're in a brothel right now. I was like, we're in an outdoor brothel right now. And, okay, so I'm like, you know what? We should probably get out of here, right? We should probably just leave. And I had some cash in my pocket. Now, pro tip, if you're ever traveling, make sure, especially if you think you might end up in a sketchy situation like we did, make sure that you always have a little bit of cash in one pocket and any other cash you have in your other pocket. Like, don't ever be in a situation where you need to pull out your wallet, because you don't want to pull out your whole wallet. And don't ever be in a situation where you need to pull out your whole wad of cash, however much that is. So always make sure you got a little bit of walk-around money in one pocket. So in my head, I'm calculating up what I think we should owe, and I realized that the bill that I have is a little too large because beers are pretty cheap down there. So I'm like, we probably need to get out of here. But I realized if I drop the bill I have and we walk out, I'm like, that would leave way too much money left over. So my dumb ass is like, we'll take one more round and then we'll leave, right? So I order one more round, and then once I order the one more round, then the original girl comes up, right? Now she's being super aggressive. Like, oh, you're trying to pay and leave. Like, oh, you need drugs, sex, women, you need drugs, sex, women. And she's starting to be really aggressive. And I'm like, I screwed up. I know we would have left too much money on the table, but I was being too damn, like, I was worried about, you know me, I worry about my frosty beverage. So I was like, why is this woman bothering? Like, she would not leave our table side, And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, all right, like, here we are. You can't see the street from where we are because of the trees and the bush and everything that's hanging over. I'm like, the bush. You can't see everything. So I'm like,
you might have saw the bush.
You might have saw the bush. Like, there's one little path to get out, and I'm like, dude, how the fuck do we get out of here? Like, I screwed up. Like, I should have left when the nicer girl was taking care of us, not the crazy aggressive girl was taking care of us. And now she knows that we know what's going on here. She knows that we're not down for what's going on. I mean, not to say that I'm not down with a brothel, but I wasn't down for this particular outdoor brothel at this particular time. So
You're a much more indoor brothel.
yeah. I need a little more upscale than that. So I'm like, we got to get out of here. And so I started thinking, like, dude, what if we just bounce? Like, what's gonna happen? So finally, we were like, listen, we got to get out of here. And it's just the vibe. The vibe was not good. Sometimes like you just feel something, you're like, man, the energy's not good. It's not good. So finally, I'm like, dude, we got to get out of here. We're like, we'll take a check. Just drop the money off. And then so we're like, we got to leave. We're gonna walk out. And the one girl, the original, the old crazy lady, was like, hey, you can't walk down there. Like, you walked in here at this time. She was like, I can't even believe you walked down here to begin with. Which, again, we've been told don't walk down there. She's like, I can't even believe you walked down here to begin with. She was like, and look where you ended up. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. She's like, you can't go back the other way. She's like, it's later now than when you got here. She's like, it's not going to be good. Like, that is not dangerous. Like, it's not safe. It's super dangerous. So I'll tell you what. I'll put, like, you need to get a cab. You need to take a cab home. And I was like, we don't have any money for a cab. And she was like, because I didn't – it just didn't feel right. Like, wait, I'm going to jump into a cab that's hanging outside this obviously sketchy outdoor brothel.
Yeah, right.
Like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'll walk. And she's like, well, I'll tell you what. It's so unsafe. I will pay for that cab for you. She's like, I will pay for it out of my pocket. You wouldn't have to worry about it. I will pay for the cab. And it's funny because at the time I was like, man, maybe she's right. Like, we should probably jump in a cab and, like, she's willing to pay for it. Fortunately, the gentleman that was with me, who was much more sound of mind at that point, was like, bro. He's like, that's when we get ghosted.
Yeah.
He was like, jump into the cab that the whore is paying for over here? He's like, are you serious? What is wrong with you? And I'm like, yeah, you're totally right. Like, we should just walk home, right? And he's like, yeah, we walk home. And I was like, all right, peace, we're out. So we walked down, and it was not sketchy at all,
No.
dude. Like, no, dude, it was like it was safer than when we walked down. Because we'd already been there, now we already felt safe.
Yeah.
We walked back. We went to the original bar where we never should have left to begin with, and we kept drinking. So that was my
She made a hard sell. But, yeah, when you think about it, because that's some dangerous, because they try to play to your – oh, yeah, trust me, it's not safe. They try to play on all the fears. I mean, like, let's be real. Like, some areas are dangerous. And like, both of us have been there. You've been there a lot more times than me. I mean, it's not as bad as a lot of people make it out, but it is possibly as bad as anybody has ever made it out to. Because I remember walking through streets and walking through areas where I've been with Brazilians, and they just like, let's – kind of quiet down a little bit, and can we, or just like, can we maybe not speak English right here? And when you have Brazilians saying that to you, that's legit, So I mean, there are a lot of areas. I've been tailed a couple times in Rio and different other little places. When you notice, you have that little sixth sense go off in your head, and you're like, oh, well, I'm gonna cross the street. Let's see if they follow, and they do follow you. You're like, okay, shit's real. I'm like, stuff can't happen. So lucky in this situation. Everything worked out great. I mean, it sucks that, more than likely, if you did probably go in that taxi, I'd probably be traveling a lot more because I'd be the only guy of the road show. But that being said,
road show
I'm glad it
with cold coffee and only cold coffee.
It'd be the worst show ever. That's why I say no. These coffee no cream shows is a bad idea.
Sketchy outdoor brothel in Fortaleza, definitely one of my memorable.
But that's memorable. We've had some good brothel memories. Well, at least I have had.
Well, we're just
most,
putting it out there.
Yeah, I was going to say, most of them never
All right, well,
thanks for listening.
Singapore was good from a totally different perspective. Anyway, listen, thanks for listening.
No, we can't end there. I'm sure we had something else to talk about.
Nope, that's all I got. Listen,
is it really?
That's all I got.
Well, we got to talk about what's happening next week.
People
what are
are
we doing
tired
next
of this.
week?
Come on, man. They're like,
that's true. But so next week they'll find us. We're doing the UFC
219. Here's what's fun. You know what? I will say this. Something to look out for next week. So first of all, the card's gonna be good, but pretty cool. I'm actually pretty excited about this. Our European boys, Abi Subban and Shamak Karsandou, will both be here, but they're working for different outlets, and I think that's so good. I mean. Look, MMA jobs are hard to come by, right? And those guys have worked, part-time for us over the years, and they're and both of them are still contributing and doing stuff for us. So I'm not trying to say that they're gone, but the thing is, I mean, our staff is our staff. The path up isn't long term, it may be there. I mean, at some point, I think Dan Stupp will probably retire. You know what I mean? At some point, things will change. But
20 years down the line.
No, he ain't making it 20 years. he's
He's gonna get married and be
he
done
made
with
a
it.
nice chunk of cash, and he's dating a nice girl right now. It's not gonna be 20 years, but the little things like that will change along the way. But at the end of the day, it's hard, man. There's not a lot of full-time jobs in this gig, so I'm super happy, like, to know that we could help give somebody a platform to help them to grow their brand, to help them.
We gave them the platform, but they did the work.
Exactly. Help them practice their
Yeah.
craft. Like, they could
Sure.
refine their craft. They could do, and then now they can get hired by somewhere else. Abby Suban is working for the Mac Life.
Just for this event.
Just for this event, yeah. Not for every event. He's going to be doing, this event, and it looks like there's some 2018 plans, but
Yeah, hopefully so.
I won't tip their cards. But and then Shamakar Sandhu is working for MMA India. Of course, he has Indian heritage there, and that's always been a passion of him. Is
Really?
shocker, to grow the sport there. So it'll be cool. Like, so our crew will be with us. So maybe next Thursday night. You know what I mean? We'll have a little bit of the European crew.
Yeah,
we'll have a little bit of
because they came here for that one time, or
Yeah.
at least Sandhu.
Yep.
Abby wasn't here for that, was he?
No, I don't think he's been to Vegas.
No, that's right. He's so excited to go to BW3s or B-dubs.
Yeah, son.
We've corrupted him. When people come to the States and all they want to do is hit Buffalo Wild Wings.
Well, that's the thing. It's just like when people go to Europe for the first time, like, we have to go to Nando's because we heard it's
'cause we-
amazing. We're like, listen, we love it. We love it. But we're simple.
we are simple folks.
We're simple.
I like how you brought it back to that. You brought it back. But yeah, I'm looking forward to next week. I mean, holy cow, that's going to be a fun fight card, and yeah, that should be a lot of fun. And unfortunately, it will be the last taping of the road show here at the Boomers, and hopefully by that point we'll have an idea of maybe where we're going to go after that, or we'll figure something out. We could always go back to the old Casa de Cold Coffee, Casa de Frio.
Or we could go to my house. I've been traveling up here to your side of the town. Cold coffee won't even drive 20 minutes.
It's folks, if my car would break down out there, I would never be found again.
So ridiculous. As you're like 5 minutes from UFC headquarters, why would anybody know what's
But
around there?
I mean, nobody can even find the UFC headquarters in the new location. It's so top secret.
So ridiculous.
So yeah, we're looking forward to that for next week.
All right.
But,
So that's what's up. Sorry we didn't have any interviews this week. Hopefully it's been enjoyable nonetheless.
just simple folks.
We just simple folks. That's all we do. Log in, give us 5 stars till I gotta fuck off. Thanks for listening.